Hello. How is everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. If I take the cover off, hello everyone. I'm Shaun alongside my guys, Garry Singh, Kevin Dent, Jaevon Toddy. Here we are for another week of Stats Over Politics as everyone unmutes their mics. I got it set. Welcome everyone. I'm reporting to you live from Glendale, a town right outside of Los Angeles, not Glendale, Arizona. And here we are. How we doing, Garry?
Chilling, my guy. Ready to get the show going. Episode 42.
Kevin, what do you think about all that hoopla with the Kelly Green Eagles jerseys?
Man, they just don't want to see us be successful, man. We got people dropping leaks, and we just couldn't wait till the 31st. We got to see all the other teams drop their jerseys, so Eagles fans are getting impatient. So my man Howie called me this morning, said it's Monday. I know you're recording. Is there any way you can help us make up for that marketing we lost? I said, hey, Howie, nothing for you, my guy. Nothing for you. I already got one in the closet. You don't got to ship me one. It's all good, man. I'm not one of these Eagles fans jumping on the new colorway right away. I've had this sitting in here, nurturing, just sitting in my closet waiting for this moment, and the moment is here. Kelly Greens, fly Eagles fly. Can't complain.
The moment is here, and Toddy, the moment is here for our special guest. So could you introduce him for me, please?
I got a guy who he's been doing this for a while. He's been since he could have started on varsity 8th grade. I'm just gonna say that now. Went to San Jose State, but then, made a detour back to the 916. Without further ado, Mr. Zach Chappell. Newly engaged.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations for joining us, man.
On that, brother.
What's up, y'all?
Chilling.
What's going on? Good to see you.
So before we get into it, man, I had to add to the intro, man. This is a 2-time Jail League MVP. It would have been 3 if there wasn't a skinny kid from West Campus, but I just have to make sure I threw that in there. I have to make sure I threw that in here. Get the energy rolling, man. I have to make sure I got that on there. All my West Campus friends were like, "Oh, you're bringing on a cool girl." I was like, "Hey, man, this is my guy." So I have to make sure I threw that out there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No, it was always love playing West, man. Oh, yeah, of course.
It was always fun, but it was always love.
I never lost to West.
We beat the team of all teams, man. We beat the team when they were stacked.
Y'all be DJing now?
We be DJ, UC, Tyler, Sellers. That's when Sellers towards ACL. Nephi was on the team.
Yeah, they were loaded.
Yep, I went exactly 1-5, and that was the one time we got it done.
That's the one that matters.
The one time that matters.
And Kevin's going to hold on to that one win for the rest of his life.
Hey, man, I got to, dog. They were talking crazy to us, Shaun. We were doing starting intros, and they had newspapers out. They even
I Man, I totally understand because last week when we had Ike on, you guys were talking about Sutter, and like I went to Einstein, and like we never once beat Sutter. And so if Einstein ever beat Sutter when I went there, man, I would still be talking about it to this day. And so Zach, I went to Sac State just like Garry, right under me, and then I also went to Rosemont, so I was right down the street from you. And
Okay, yeah, you're right there.
You know my guy Toddy already. He bounced around, went from Sac High to Rosemont to West Campus, and so we got the Sac representation on here so far. And so I just wanted to start things off and just ask, like, what's your favorite thing about Sacramento? Because you're someone who, even though I don't know you, I've seen from afar that you're really all about repping your city. And so, what's your favorite thing about Sacramento?
Man, it's home. I've been here my whole life. Grown up, born, raised, like all that good stuff. I've met so many different people that kind of touch different avenues of life. So it's comfortable for me. It's also like wherever I go, like I've been here so long, wherever I go is like really home in Sacramento, right? I know somebody at some point, I'm sure y'all are the same way. Like when you're born and raised in Sacramento, right? Everybody moves around and stuff for the most part, but everybody pretty much stays in Sac. So just seeing people I grew up with, man, like this, different people doing different things is I just love the city, man.
All right.
Man, me too. Garry, you're up.
And yeah, I was gonna go to the real quick just for the Sac State connection. Me and Shaun probably wanted to get this out the way. I'm probably jumping the gun way too early, skipping San Jose State real quick. But oh well, just for the Hornets, you want to let the people know how was your experience at Sac State and all that. You know, you had 2 great seasons there. You want to explain to the people like your whole experience at Sac State and everything like that.
Yeah, I loved it, man. I'm really Sac State's biggest advocate, man. From President Nelson, who was the president for I was there 3 years, so who was my president throughout the time and who really showed me a lot of love, a lot of hospitality from my coaches, Coach Capps, Coach Laird, and then to my last year with Coach DP and the entire staff. But, I mean, really the student body is what, is one of the biggest things that drew me to the school is because, yeah, it's a commuter school for the most part, they try to say, but, like, campus life is
starting to get active
right?
now.
Yeah.
It's starting to get active the last few years, I'm not going to lie.
Exactly. So, seeing all these different people, right? And it was really coming out of COVID. So, I mean, seeing not just like random people, but like people I also grew up with, people I kind of, went to elementary school, went to middle school with. So having them there as well, like cheering me on during the games that was my favorite part about it. Obviously, having my family be able to come to the games and all that good stuff, but really just seeing my peers like that, who I grew up with, who have, really seen me since I started taking hoop serious. Now, for me to play for their college is like, it's really an honor.
Absolutely. And now we're already talking about Sac State. I want to take it back a little bit. We got to go back to the AAU days, man. What were the couple of teams that you were playing for growing up? And who would you say some were the best players that you went up against in the AAU circuit?
Man, the AAU circuit, bro, it was crazy. Like, you know how that gets. Kevin, me and Kevin had some battles, man.
Yeah, Kevin came out on top. Hey, man, I got a tally in the corner, man. I'm keeping them.
Yeah, but nah, AAU was lit, man. I really started CYBL, right, and then my dad, he was my coach then, and then he made a AAU team. Actually, back then it was like split, so you would play CYBL and AAU. So like Saturdays it was CYBL, and then Sundays you got like a little AAU game, right?
Yep.
So we started with that. I played up with my brother, met a whole bunch of dudes, and then I also played for the Yellow Jackets and the Predators. We were pretty much the same team.
Mommy Daz played on that team.
Yellow Jacket Hall of Famer.
Daz, yep.
Daz. If you put that ball in the cup, you play for those teams.
Andrew Roy.
Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Drew. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm their little brother's age, so play with them. I'll play up with the older guys, but then I'll play with, my group as well. But I would have to say, when I started getting in high school and started playing middle school, started playing for like the shoe circuit teams, that's when like you play the real dogs, right? You go to, when you're younger, you go to Reno, you go to LA ones, Vegas ones, and it's cool, right? Exactly, 548. But then when you hit that shoe circuit, that's like a different ball game. Now it's dude.
EYBL. Were you Nike Were you Nike or?
I played all three. So I
Okay.
played.
What Zach
I played
Chappell we're
Nike.
talking about? What?
You played Nike, Under Armour, and Adidas.
Yeah, so I started with Under Armour with Team Superstar. We were loaded. This guy's in the
Superstar.
league.
Wow, I forgot.
Loaded.
That's crazy. Yeah.
We were loaded, and then ended up playing. After that, we switched our team name to Splash City. It was like a Curry sponsored team. We had all the Currys. It was dope. And then after that, I switched over to Team Arsenal. So played with them for a little bit.
The Adidas Team Arsenal that Dennis Smith Jr. played for. Yep.
No, he didn't play for them.
I thought he did.
He played with he played with Team Loaded.
That's what it was, Loaded.
Yeah. And then after that, I went and played with Portland Basketball Club, which is a Nike team from Portland. And then I finished with Vegas Prospects, another Nike team.
Okay.
So, but the best player I didn't play with, all that.
Y'all good.
I would have to say on the AAU circuit, it would have to be either Darius Garland, or
what year did you
Marvin
play him?
Bagley.
Do you remember the
I
year
played
you played
him? I played him both my last AAU season. So what's that? 2017. 2017 summer.
You and DJ are the same age?
Who? Oh yeah. He was like top point guard in my class. So let me tell you about this. I had this week,
go ahead.
and I'm like, it's really like my first EYBL tournament for real. So or session. So I'm like juice, whatever. Coming from Adidas, I'm thinking that, you know what I'm saying, whatever. So first game, we supposed to play Kobe White. So I'm like, all right, bet, whatever. Kobe White. I know at this time, he's supposed to be the number one point guard in the class. So I'm like watching all his highlights, like trying to get ready, right? Study the film, bro. Everybody like, he fast. Whoop. So I'm like, all right, bet. Play him. I'm like, he's all right. Like, they smacked our team. Our team was pretty good. They smacked our team. They had all kinds of pros and stuff.
Yeah.
Next, we playing Darius Garland. I'm like, all right, I just got my feet wet against the number one point guard.
Yeah.
So I should, you know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm good. Like, I'll be able to handle this guy, whatever. When I tell you, this man was so good. Doing whatever he wanted to do.
Like, it early.
Yeah.
It was crazy. I'm like, this dude number one, like, he's way better.
He's way better than
But it was fun, man. I love the AAU circuit.
He gave y'all 30, huh?
Oh, I don't know how much he was just doing whatever he wanted. Like, it was crazy.
Though. Yeah.
So
You
before I ask my
Bagley
question,
too? My bad. Yeah, you took the Bagley too. How was playing against Bagley? How was that experience too?
That was crazy because he was like obviously so much bigger than us, but like at the same time we had to switch. We were trying to figure out how to guard him. So he throwing everybody, we throwing doubles, everything. And I remember I'm guarding him, and he do like a pick and pop. We switch, and he shoot the three. Right, he a lefty, so he shoot the three or whatever. And I'm like, there's ain't no way he's making a three. So I'm turning around, like pretty much trying to leak out. Right.
Yeah.
This dude follows his shot and dunks it. I'm like,
Coach is pissed at you.
He was sick. Tip dunk. I'm like, Coach, he ain't supposed to be able to do that. Like, come on. But yeah, that was wild.
So before we're talking about AAU, so before I ask my question, the answer I thought you were going to say was LaMelo Ball. I remember watching that game. So could you tell us a little bit about playing LaMelo Ball as the Chino Hills prodigy LaMelo Ball?
Oh,
that was crazy. That was crazy too because we were up. We was beating them. Kev, I know you remember. We was beating them, probably going into half, and Melo is not trying to do anything. Like, he's chilling, right? So I'm like, hey, why are you like y'all about to mess around? I'm talking to him like, y'all about to mess around and lose. Like, what are y'all doing? He's like, I got you. Went for 40, bro. I'm like, oh, bro. The headline on YouTube, like, Melo Ball goes for 40 in Vegas.
Ball's life, all that. Yeah.
It was crazy. But he was nice, bro. It was so easy for him. And he was younger than us, too. So it's like, hey, it wasn't nothing we can do. We just knew he was. And he wasn't even
big baller brand,
6'7". Yeah, that was big baller brand. He wasn't even 6. He was like 6'4" at the time.
Yeah.
Like, doing whatever he wanted. It is still
but now he big body too. Now he got longer.
Now it's full circle.
Yeah.
So getting into my question, we talked about Sac State earlier. All of us being Sacramento guys, a lot of people growing up in Sacramento on the hoop circuit really question why Sacramento State wasn't really recruiting a lot of the local kids. But with your class and the new coaching staff under DP, it's kind of changing. So can you talk to that and what DP and his staff is going to do for the local Sacramento hoopers that don't have to go out of state to play now?
Yeah, I mean, well, they're really trying to make it into like the most professional, the most high level like program that it can possibly be. And I think a big part of that is bringing on Coach Lowe. Y'all know Coach Lowe Lee, who played at Sac State, right? Pretty much from Sac. Like, so with him hopping on the staff, he's like, nah, every year we need some local guys, whether it's somebody walking on, whether it's the top guy in our recruiting class, like we need Sacramento guys. And so I think that with him kind of looking out for the city, with him wanting to kind of keep guys around, I think that's going to help out the program because there's so many guys in Sac that every year, go to LA or go somewhere else or whatever. And it's like, if we just stay here, like if guys from 2015, or really 2014 to 2018 stayed in Sac, went to Sac State,
there'd be a banner in the gym.
Come on now.
Easy.
Zach, why do you think they don't? Obviously, I know the program, is getting built as much as it is now. But what do you think goes? Obviously, I also feel like as youngins, you maybe want to explore out, go to those different cities. What's your idea of why maybe guys try to go out and don't really come to Sac State as much as, now it's changing, obviously, but before, though? What do you think? What was the problem there?
Yeah, I think a lot of guys, and me included, like growing up, it's like you don't want to go to Sac State, right? It's a small gym. You don't really know about the conference. It's not like Pac-12. It's not like ACC, like one of those Power Fives. Mm-hmm. So everybody's like, I want to get out of here. I want to go to one of those huge schools, right? And so I was the same way. Like, I have uncles and aunties that work at Sac State, like to this day. But my thing was, I want to play at the highest level I can, and I'm sure all youngsters think the same way. So with me, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to San Jose State. They might not be good, but like we had a solid recruiting class coming in, so I'm like, we can turn this thing around. And then obviously things don't work out there, and so transferring, there was some family stuff. My grandpa just passed, so I'm like, I need to come home, be with my grandma and stuff. And then I'm talking to one of my mentors, and he was like, yeah, honestly, all mid-major basketball, if you're not at Gonzaga or like San Diego State, it's like it's all the same, like wherever you go. So you can either go to a mid-major school in LA, mid-major school wherever, and they'll just recruit a LA guy to come do what you're supposed to be doing, you won't play, or you can go be that recruit in Sac and still have all the same facilities, still have all the same, but like be comfortable, be home. So I'm like, no brainer. So I think it took really some maturing and me getting older and being like, it don't really matter conference. Like most conferences take 1 to 2 teams to the tournament if it's not Power 5 anyway. So really, if you just invest in your team and become one of those top 2 teams, you'll be straight to get to the tournament.
Without a doubt. And so when I was a journalism major at Sac State, I was on the State Hornet. That's actually where I met my guy, Garry. And so doing some research for this interview, I read up on an article from the State Hornet about the relationship that you and Rick Barrows had. And I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. And it was an awesome article done by Nathan Uberholer of the State Hornet. And it was just about how you guys had been playing together since you were kids and since elementary school. And then also the fact that you were both born on the same day in the same hospital. Like, that was such a cool story to read about. And so, like, what was that experience like getting to play with him in college after having all of that history?
Yeah, it was crazy. He was a huge part of me going to Sac. I called him before really even telling the coach that I would, end up coming. And I'm like, hey, twin, like, we just did this in high school. You want to run it back? I'm like, or do you want your own school? Because if you want your own school, it's like, I understand. I won't, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to mess up what you got going on. I don't want to come in. We're kind of the same position at some point. So I'm like, I get it. He was like, no, like, come. He was like, we can run it back. We can do this. We can do that. I'm like, cool. So he was real helpful in that. He was real warming to me. That's my brother for life. Yeah, so it was great playing with him. He battled some injuries and stuff, so we didn't really play that much together. But when we were, it was like old times, man. It was so fun. And he's super smart. Like, he knows the game so well. So even when he was on the sideline with injuries, he would just, hey, look at this. When you come off the ball screen, look at this guy. They're tagging from here, or they're doing this. So he was really helpful. He was really like a coach. So everybody looked up to him. Everybody respected him on the team for all years, no matter how old they were. It was great to have him on the team.
Go, Kev, Vaughn.
Absolutely. So we kind of talked about, you transferring back to Sac State and, basically maturing and being there for 3 years. Can you just talk to us a little bit about, your experience at Sac State and what it was like, being on the team, just getting acclimated with all the guys and ultimately winning 11 games in your 2 years affect you? So
That was at San Jose State, Toddy.
Oh no! I meant I meant at Sac State. What it was like when you were, what it was like for you winning those games, or damn near winning playoffs, almost going to the playoffs in Sac State.
Yeah, so Sac I loved it, man. Obviously being home, but from a hoop standpoint, it was completely different. Like, even my first year with Cats, a lot of the guys really wanted to win. They wanted to play pro and stuff. So it was a different atmosphere, right? Everybody in the gym, everybody working. It's no like guarantees with your spot. Everybody got to work for it. So that atmosphere was great. And then I kind of struggled with some injury. I had like a slight tear in my knee my first year. So I was on restricted minutes like the entire year, which ended up helping me because then I got to really understand what Cats and Laird wanted for real. But then the second year, a lot of the guys left, and it was like really time for me to kind of step up and be a leader. I was known as kind of a vet in the program, so it helped me with that. And then on to my last year, which I had 5 years because of COVID. It really everything really started clicking. Coming in, it was the third new coach, really, because Cats left during my second year. So it was really my third coach in a Sac State uniform in 3 years. So that was crazy, but having DP come and really being able to get him to use me, right, based off of everything I learned from Cats and Laird, it really helped me kind of kickstart. As soon as DP got there, he came to me and was like, hey, let's figure this out. Who does what. And so I was really able to have those conversations with DP, and I was really able to understand his system better because of everything that I learned from Cats and Laird. So everything at SAC kind of worked together to help me have a solid year my senior year, but I wouldn't trade it for anything, man. It was a great time.
So growing up in Sacramento, I know we all grew up being Kings fans besides Toddy, growing up and, became a Celtics fan somehow. So I don't know how that happened, but going through your pre-draft workout process, how was it being a local kid dreaming for playing for the Kings like all of us had, and you won section championships at their arena? How did it feel to go through that pre-draft workout and just kind of explain it to everyone who didn't get that chance?
Yeah, it was surreal. So the day – the week before, Gus Armstead calls me and he's like, hey, the Kings want to get you down for a workout. I'm thinking he's probably calling me on a Friday, and I'm literally going on a trip, taking my girl on a trip, because I'm about to propose.
Yeah.
So he calls me on Friday.
That's crazy.
He's like, hey, the Kings are trying to get you in a workout. What you doing? I'm like, I'm out of town. But I'll be ready. He was like, okay, so I'm thinking Monday. And I'm like, dang. On the inside, I'm tripping. Ain't no way I'm going to be ready, right?
Yeah.
So Monday comes, I don't hear nothing. I'm like, cool. Like, honestly, I would rather not do it today. All right. I go in, get some shots in, right? Still kind of out of shape from the weekend. And so then Tuesday comes, Tuesday night, and they call and they're like, hey, this is so-and-so from the Sacramento Kings. We'd love for you to come down. Da, da, da. Gave me the whole spiel. And I'm like,
Oh, Mike Brown
Yo.
called you.
nah.
It's actually De'Aaron Fox, like, hey, man.
Nah. It was their like player development recruiting guy.
Yeah.
So he called. He was like, "Hey, love to have you come down." All this stuff, and I'm like, honest. I'm thinking on the inside, like, now I'm stressing because I had some workouts and stuff earlier that day on Tuesday and Monday, but I wasn't nearly in as good a shape as I should have been, right? Especially going into something like that. So I immediately, it's probably like 10 o'clock. I immediately go to the gym. My girl come with me, and I'm shooting, right? Haven't touched the NBA ball in probably about a couple weeks or whatever. But then we go into first we get there, and we have breakfast. So I'm in there with a whole bunch of guys that are supposed to be going second round, late first, right? Guys that have two ways and stuff from the ACC, from the Big Ten, from the Pac-12, like from SEC. It was we had some high level guys in there, and then here I am, like from Sac State, But my
representing though.
Exactly. My main thing was, man, just to build those relationships, and I just I want to talk to everybody. So I want to talk to the chef, figure out how he got there. Like I want to talk to, what I'm saying, like all the coaches, and I just want to figure things out. Talk to the trainers and stuff. So I did all that, but so we had breakfast, and then we went, and like we were talking about earlier, Sac is small. So the security guard who let me into the place actually was like, grew up with my dad. So
That's crazy.
he was like, oh yeah, I saw Chappell on here. And I was like, yeah, let me go get him. So I'm like, okay, cool. Right. So we go in there. He was cool. I've known him since I was young or whatever. He's giving me Kings tickets and all that. So real cool dude. So he was kind of showing me, giving me the lay of the land because I had gotten there before the coaches and stuff. So we ate breakfast, and then we went to get like our uniforms and all that stuff, got changed. Then we had to go through like a series of tests. So they test our vertical, test our speed, agility. They tested, did like body comp, weight, height, all that stuff, wingspan, hands. And then after that, we kind of did like a warm up, got loose. And then the trainer, the athletic trainer, or one of their sports or weight and conditioning coaches actually he was just at Sac State. So my first year at Sac State, he was at Sac State as well. So he's like, hey, his name's Zach as well. He was like, hey, Zach, like, you remember me? I'm like, yeah, of course. Yeah, so I'm like, okay. So all these things that are happening, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm more and more comfortable. So then we get into the workout. We do some ball handling. We do some skill finishes, a lot of pick and roll work. We played ones. We did a lot of shooting. And then we did some 3-on-3, more shooting than we did like full court 3-on-3. And I remember, like, all the front office is there, all the coaches, De'Aaron Fox there, Keegan Murray there. I don't know if y'all know, well, I'm sure y'all do. Kessler Edwards there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so all the G League coaches, everything. So I'm like, okay, this is lit, like, it's big time. And so we played threes and all that stuff. We did full court 3-on-3. That was crazy. But I remember DP, my coach at Sac, he was like, hey, no matter what, don't show that you're tired. Like, you might slow down, but don't go on your knees. Don't gas for air. Like, just play it cool. So everybody on their knees, right, whatever. And I'm just sitting there like, I'm dying too, though, but I'm just
so my chest is on fire.
Because I'm locked in.
Exactly. But it was cool, man. It was a great experience. They showed me a lot of love. After the workout, we had lunch, and then we had like these interviews or whatever. Got to keep some gear, so it was a great experience. I'm super grateful for that.
Zach, we got one final question for you before we just talk about some NBA topics altogether. But I wanted to ask, because we were talking a lot about Sacramento Hoopers who came through the high school scene, a couple who went to Sac State like yourself. and also like a Christian Terrell. And then you see a guy like Jordan Ford who went to a little bit of a bigger program at St. Mary's. But the point is, all Sac area hoopers who have gone on to play for the Stockton Kings. So do you see any opportunity like that maybe in your future, or maybe going to play overseas?
Man, I'm open to anything. Been talking with a lot of overseas teams. Obviously, it would be great to, stay and play for Stockton. That's kind of a goal of mine to play with them. And the new coach was actually, I was partnered up with her in my workout, so that helps. Yeah. Exactly. So that helps hopefully. But things happen fast, really. So, I mean, tomorrow a team in Europe can be like, "Hey, we need you out here in 3 days," and then if the money's there, then I gotta be ready to go. But exactly. But yeah. Oh, and another guy, Jordan. He was actually after my workout, he was about to work out, so it's cool to see him. But yeah, I mean, it's been the blueprint for guys to get in, and Jordan actually played with the Clippers G League team before coming back to Stockton.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been a blueprint for Sac guys to stay home and play for Stockton and hopefully get a deal with the Kings. So that would definitely be an honor, man. I'm open to it, but if it doesn't happen, then I'll have to start my career, in Europe or somewhere else, and then kind of chip away. Hopefully, come back sometime.
Well, best of luck. We're always rooting for you.
Thank you.
Last question real quick, Shaun, before we transfer over. Real quick, Zach, I've just been noticing, like, you play for so many teams growing up, and even when you're older, you grow up so many teams. Like, I guess, some people take that as a negative. You're not getting consistent, but same you can take it as a positive. You're learning from so many different coaches, different people, and different teammates. How do you take it, and what do you think how that has developed you as a basketball player on and off the court, just playing in for so many coaches and so many different levels and different ways and things of that nature? How do you think that has developed you as a basketball player?
Yeah, it helps me definitely, because now I can learn how to take advice from different coaching styles and not really get hurt by it. Some coaches are aggressive and yelling and wilding, but then there's some coaches who will just literally just have a conversation with you and be like, "Hey, do this, do this, do this." So me being able to kind of deal with both, I think it's going to help me, especially in my pro journey, because you don't never know what you're going to get, right? And with me playing for these different teams and playing for all these different coaches, like, things happen fast. So I'll be with this team 1 week, and then the next week it's like a new team, new coach. I got to figure out a new play style, like all this stuff. So I think it helps me in the end. And the biggest part, though, is relationships. A lot of players I know players everywhere, like obviously like all over the world, but like I know a lot of coaches that are in the NBA, a lot of guys that I've, kind of built relationships with are heading in that direction where they're going to get on staffs and stuff in the NBA. So I think networking is the biggest part of all grassroots sports. Really, if you can network early and really learn how to build relationships and form relationships, and hold on to relationships, I think that's where the biggest benefit is. Yeah, playing all these games and stuff is cool. Getting scholarship offers is great. But if you can't network, then you'll really finish school, or you'll really play your 1 year or whatever, what you're doing in college, and then you'll be stuck, right? But me, like, I love basketball. I love to play basketball. But, like, the network that I've built, I'll be fine if I don't play basketball. Like, I can get into so many different avenues, right, because of the network that I built. And that's all strictly from learning how to do that at a young age through grassroots. So, yeah.
I think you really hit the nail on the head there, Zach, because as I'm learning right now, just trying to rise through the ranks of sports journalism, I'm learning. I see a lot of people getting a lot of opportunities from knowing people. And so as hard as I may work, if I don't know the right people and try to build those connections along the way, it's going to be a lot tougher journey. So I think networking, you really hit the nail on the head there. And so we got about 10 more minutes with you, Zach, and we really appreciate you joining us here for Stats Over Politics. And we wanted to get to a couple of NBA topics with you real quick. And Jaevon, I think, is about to take his victory lap because Kevin and I have been hating on him for a while. And it is in regard to Jaylen Brown sticking with the Celtics. For now, he is, as he got the biggest contract in NBA history, 6 years, 340 or 304. Thank you, Jaevon. I appreciate that. Maybe had a little bit of dyslexia there, got my numbers mixed up. Anyways, still the biggest contract in NBA history, $304 million. And so, Zach, what was your reaction to that?
That's insane. I actually, when I first saw it, I thought I read it wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm so excited for him, man. That's a bag for real. But I don't know if y'all saw his interview where he's talking about what he wants to do with it.
Yep.
No, I missed it.
That is dope. Yeah, talking about the Black Wall Street stuff and how he wants to really just help the community with it, and hopefully he can meet different guys that want to help him as well. But I think this is dope. Yeah, network really. But the 3-and-D, Jaylen Brown he's so like valuable. I think I was just having this conversation today because he's really the 3-and-D prototype, like build, right? But like he can do so much more, and he's athletic, and he can slash, and he can get to the rim, and he can. So he's really like, I think, that valuable.
But he can't go left. What do you mean? He can't dribble with his left hand.
Hey, man, I was waiting for someone to say it, man. I've been seeing all the Emmanuel Hansel videos.
They said he put the ball in his left hand and it's gone. He don't get a chance to dribble with it.
Oh man, what are we talking about? JB is one of the best 3-and-D guys in the world. I wouldn't see why he wouldn't get. I think people are freaking out over the contract. It's what the market is right now. The next guy after him is going to get way more than him. The next guy after that's going to get way more than him. It's just what the NBA is, and it's the TV money that keeps coming in every year. The CBA is the salary cap is going to keep going up and up every year. So by the time I think it's like Luka, when he comes to like a second contract, could get like almost $400 million. Or people were saying when Shea hits the market, he's going to probably get $400 million. So it's basically whatever the max. Like I'd say, I was listening to Gil's his podcast, and he was saying like, or it was Paul George's podcast, somebody's, and they were saying like it was like 150 million. That was the max, and now it's doubled now. So over time, the money is going to keep going up and up and up. So 300 might seem not like a lot in a couple of years, which is insane.
Unless the Saudis give you a bill ticket and say leave the NBA.
That's a whole different conversation.
Let me hop in real quick. Oh, go ahead.
Please do, Garry.
I was gonna hop in real quick. I like basically what you guys said. To be honest with you, Jaylen Brown deserves this money. Obviously, I think like Vaughn said, everyone's kind of hoopline about like him being the highest paid player. But like you said, like how the cycle goes. I know Kev. I can see Kev's already really chomping at the bit to get on this one right here. But I feel like the way it's going right now, every next person's gonna be getting paid the most and the most. Obviously, if they deserve the money. And I kind of do feel like it's a little bit weird just because like he's hitting all the criteria, but at the same time, they had to play two guys now, Zach, him and Jason, some big dollars. So I don't know how that's going to hurt the team in the future, but I know Kev's probably going to get on that point of them not trying to pay him, but I don't know yet. But I would say Jaylen Brown, I think, deserves this money. I think he obviously should have got paid, but we're going to see, Vaughn, if this was just a little too much, and it might going to hurt you at the end of it, because if this is all, this lot of cap space getting used up for two guys in the next, 5-6 years now, and at the end of the day, you can just say, I know, like, you're supposed to get the most money as a player. Obviously, you would want to. That's the whole lifestyle. That's your personal living. You'd want to get the most money. I would want to get the most money too. But it's also that little bit of that little, I guess, that dynamic of, all right, what's enough money for me to also still be to still have great players around me? Because at the end of the day, like Jaylen Brown and these top level players, I feel like, Zach, they, their legacy also depends on how much winning and things of that nature they do. You know what I'm saying? Right now, it's not good to be, I guess, looked upon as a James Harden, even though you killed it in money. You've been doing everything. You've been killing in stats, but, everyone keeps harping on the fact that he's not winning at the end of the day. So I guess I feel like for these type of level players, I feel like it is going to be something in their mind to think of, maybe just to tone the bag just a little bit, just so you can help your team if the team is going to use that to actually help you. Because, we had this conversation back in the day with LeBron where he going to take a pay cut, but for who? Like, who am I taking a pay cut for now? All depends for that too. So I think he deserves the money, but I think it's to see if this is going to be hurting the Celtics in the long run.
I definitely think this is going to hurt the Celtics in the long run. If this was after the finals and he got the money, I'm all for it. We could have had an argument that he was probably the best player on the Celtics after the finals run. But to see him come back this year, and all people are talking about from the first day of training camp is you've been talking to trade camps, or do you want to stay in as the Celtic? Do you want to leave? Blah, blah, blah. So that's all we heard. And we kind of saw him struggle this year. You know, when Kendrick Perkins, when he says you cannot dribble, that's a sign. That is trouble. We already talked about all the Emmanuel Hansel videos we saw talking about Jaylen Brown this, Jaylen Brown this. I just don't think, like Garry mentioned, we're going to have to pay them $600 million. And we've already seen what Jaylen Brown could be. We saw his peak, his all-star year. Yeah, he made, I believe, second-team All-NBA, maybe third. But we saw his peak. We saw what Jaylen Brown could be. He wasn't an all-star this year, and he had the best year of his career. So what is that saying? Is the league getting better, or is Jaylen Brown getting worse?
He made second-team All-NBA. That's his peak? That was his peak? That's
hey, I mean, would you say he's the best number 2 in the league? No. So where do we really see Jaylen Brown growing as a player? If we see another year of like this, next summer we're going to be talking about Jaylen Brown getting traded for A, B, C, and D. So I think we're just not going to see this duo really flourish anymore. We saw Jaylen Brown
just went to the finals. They just went to the finals.
After 6 years of going to the Eastern Conference Finals and losing,
for 5 years, ever since they've been together, it's literally Eastern Conference Finals and Finals. But you're like, no, let's break them up. What the fuck are we talking about right now?
Todd, you're pouring your Celtics. It's coming out of your nose, bro.
What are we talking about? He literally was just second-team All-NBA, and you're telling, he hit his ceiling. What are we talking about? 25.
I mean, 25. Do you think he can be first team? No, not even a conversation. Not even a conversation.
Get him, Johnny.
There is no conversation where you can tell me Jaylen Brown could ever be first-team All-NBA.
Oh, my God. Kevin, he literally – Jason Tatum, yes, it's the number – Jason Tatum is probably going to be the person that's going to be on the first team. If anything, they both wouldn't be on the first team because one player – good enough. They both play the same position. What are we talking about?
I mean, Jaylen Brown
got the Eastern Conference Finals or the Finals.
So when we talk
Jaylen Brown just made second-team All-NBA.
So let me run this by you, Zach. So before all the awards came out, Toddy was preaching. Put Jaylen as a Brown, put Jaylen as a 4 so he can make it. Put him as a 4 so he can make it. If we keep him as a guard, he's not gonna make it. So we have to make other routes for him to make an All-NBA team. If he was that guy, there is no, maybe if they vote him as a 4, he gets in, but if they vote him as a guard, he doesn't. So you're paying $304 for a tweener that we've seen
a top 5-2 guard in the league.
No, disrespectful, Kev.
I'm just being honest. You're going to pay all this money for what? What I am big on, Zach, is what have you done for me lately? I don't care what you did 3 seasons ago. I just made the second team All-NBA. What do you mean? And how did the season end?
We lost in the Eastern Conference Finals.
When you shouldn't have lost. You guys should have got swept. Okay. If we're keeping it a stack, let's keep it honest. Toddy was on the show talking about, I'm booking for Cancun, and then switched his whole energy when Game 7 came around. So let's not act like Toddy's been all Jaylen Brown the whole way because he hasn't been.
Oh, I got a question for Toddy real quick. Or Zach, whoever wants to take this question. Do you think Jaylen Brown is going to finish this contract in a Celtics jersey? Go ahead, Vaughn. You go first on that one.
I'll say yeah. $6 million is a lot of money, but I'll say yeah.
What you think, Zach?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think.
Oh, Zach, you can't be coming with the answer. You got to come a little sharp on that one. Come on now.
It's 6 years. Like, guys don't, especially in this era, they don't stay that long. He already been here for.
Dame signed a 4-year extension and is trying to get out.
Exactly.
So
no, I'd bet against it. I don't think he would, especially how many times they've tried to put him in deals already. For the Durant deal, they tried to put him in. They tried to put him in the Harden deal a couple years ago. They've been putting him in every deal, so I wouldn't be surprised either if he wasn't a Celtics for this full 10 year. What do you think, Shaun?
Well, I had to unmute my mic first. That's what I think, definitely. But to be honest, I think that he will be gone. I mean, Kevin and I have been clowning Toddy about this potentially happening for weeks, if not going on a year. And so, it wouldn't be on brand for me to say that he stays for the next 6 years. Just the fact that 6 years is a really long time, and so I don't think that will be around for the entire contract. What Kevin was saying, and My screen just refreshed, so I hope that my connection is still good.
Yo, Shaun,
but
you
cut
cut
Can you guys hear me?
Robot Shaun. Okay. Basically, so Shaun and Kevin basically just been tormenting me in our group chat. I mean, Alex gets it. I mean, it
just make sure you know that.
What are we talking? It just doesn't make sense. He made the All-Star team last year. Made second team All-NBA. He's a top 5 two guard in the league. Like, what are we like? It just doesn't make sense to me. He's a top. You could argue top 15, top 20 guy in the league. And I'm just. Jason Tatum is obviously the best player on the team. They added Porzingis. Like, it's a different dynamic what this team can be. Obviously, it's the 2 wing players. You see what they tried to build in Los Angeles with the Clippers with Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. It's basically what the Clippers want to be because they're always hurt. They're literally always hurt. So I mean, the Clippers would kill for the success that the Celtics would have right now. They're trying to have a wing league. So what I'm trying to tell you guys is, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, why would you break up just going to the finals Easter? Oh yeah, we can't get past it. Just trade them away. Like, what are we talking about? You know what I mean? How long did the Kings literally have to wait before they get a playoff? But they even win the playoffs. They got to the playoffs.
We're comparing apples to oranges here.
I know.
So now,
Don't be trying to kill the Beam team already.
A solid player on your team. You don't just trade them. We drafted these guys. They drafted Jaylen Brown. They drafted Jason Tatum.
Before we let you go, Zach,
it really doesn't make sense.
I just want to ask the room, can anyone name me this All-NBA second team from last year, 2 years ago? Crickets. So in a year when no one brings up Jaylen Brown making All-NBA, we're going to come back to this conversation. Because guys like DeMar DeRozan made the second team All-NBA.
DeMar DeRozan's a bucket. What are we talking about?
Hey, man, I'm just saying, if it's not first team, it flows, man. It flows. But I don't want to keep going back and forth because we got our guests. You got to get up out of here. So, Zach, I just want to speak for the 4 of us, including Shaun. We really appreciate, man, and you coming in here, giving your insight and just explaining to the young Hoopers that we have listening to your journey, and that everyone's journey is different. We heard Ike's story. You know, everyone's journey is different. So we just want to say thank you, and we hope to have you on the show again one day. And have a great rest of your day, man. We really do appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Appreciate
you, man. I had a blast.
Thank you, man. Have a good one.
Yep, y'all too.
All right, so I guess I have to put my Shaun Hoko hat on because our host has gone.
Let's say you want to switch to Porzingis real quick since he mentioned it. We can ask him real quick about what you think about the extension, Vaughn, for your guy Porzingis.
Man, go ahead. We can roll it in.
Porzingis.
The Celtics going a little more.
A month ago.
Yeah, a month ago. What you think? You think that was smart to give Mr. Injury Prone himself to 2-year extension?
Injury prone?
The year before, the last 2-3 years on the Knicks.
He had a career year
last year. He was good. Yeah, I agree with that. But he hasn't been injured. He hasn't been injured.
He's 25 points extra of that year being added. So the Celtics got better. They had to give away Marcus Smart, which sucks. It sucks the aspect, but Porzingis brings a whole different element. He can stretch the floor. He shot like 38% from 3 last year. So I mean, average 25 points a game. The Celtics are going to be better.
I think they can be better with him too. But the extension, I would have waited until we seen it flourish to give him the extension. Obviously, maybe that's why he came there, that he was promised this extension already.
We're like third in like finals odds. I mean,
no one's saying you suck, Vaughn. No one's saying y'all suck.
You're okay. Get out your feelings, dog.
It is what it is.
There's a line. We're trying to talk about the line. Are y'all gonna be in that top tier?
It's like the Suns. It's like the Nuggets, Suns, Celtics. We're always going to be in the top 4 or 5. Who's going to win a championship next year? Every year,
Toddy, bro.
Every year.
Lakers.
The sun will rise tomorrow, bro. It's all good.
LeBron, I meant.
It just doesn't make sense to me.
But yeah, paying $60 million to a guy who's never played in a playoff game is a stretch.
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. Wait to see before.
All we've heard about with their success was having 2 dominant big men with the Robert Woods and the Al Horford. So is Porzingis got to come and play the 4s? He got to play
in the playoffs with the Mavericks. With Luka.
The play-in. That's not the playoffs.
Wasn't
the first year of the play-in?
No, he played in the playoffs.
It was when in the bubble. They for sure played in the bubble because
I think
remember
he played like 2 games. He got injured then. I remember that.
He did.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
he
well,
did play. I remember him getting hurt.
For the most part, he hasn't played in the playoffs. And hey, guys, I'm back. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties there. Apparently, my phone wanted to disconnect from the hotspot, and then I got put on to my janky hotel Wi-Fi for where I'm at in Glendale. Awful Wi-Fi, and I'm glad that I'm back because it was giving me some issues for a while. And so, anyways, did I pick it up? Did I put the ticker on right? You guys were talking about Porzingis signing his 2-year extension.
They'll be getting paid, but just a little bit hesitant on the timing, but it's all good.
Well, I'm sorry that I missed Zach departing, but thank you so much to Zach Chappell for joining us today on episode number 42 of Stats Over Politics. As we're going to keep things rolling here, stingers up. You got it right, Jaevon. So we're going to take a brief break from our Celtics coverage, our all-around Celtics coverage, and we're going to get back to the hometown being the Sacramento Kings. As a couple weeks ago, this news came out that the Kings signed Nerlens Noel to a one-year deal worth $3.1 million. And when I rejoined the stream, I heard you guys saying New York Knicks, injury prone, and I thought you were already on to the Nerlens Noel discussion, but apparently not. And so, anyways, Gary, I wanted to get your reaction to the news about the Kings signing Nerlens Noel.
I think, like Kev said, as soon as it happens, simple, Kev. I was hoping you just did it. I was hoping you just did it. Literally, all we need, brother. That's all we need right now from Nerlens Noel. He's going to come in, play a role. We need, Sabonis, especially in the playoffs. I know everyone's getting on my guy Sabonis, but if we literally look back in the playoffs, he was getting double teamed basically in a sense on rebounding with Looney and Draymond to deal with when he was basically on the back end with himself because we had so many guards playing the playoffs. So I think that little small problem could be fixed if Nerlens Noel can find his niche, maybe like a Dwight Howard late in his career type when he was on Lakers, DeAndre Jordan, things like the JaVale McGee. If he can find that role where he can, I know his game hasn't always been that, but maybe he can start developing that niche for himself, starting on this Sacramento Kings team. I think that would be a great role for him. I think he's going to be able to bring some really experience from him just being a lot of places so far in his career. And like Shaun mentioned, he's been having the unluckiness of, being injured in his career, but obviously I feel like he's getting another chance. So I feel like he still has some things to give. And like Kay keeps saying, he's putting his arms up. He's a big body, and we all know the Kings need a big body to throw out into the game. So I'm happy he signed with us, and let's see what opportunity he can create on this Kings team.
Kevin, you are the other Sacramento Kings fan on this podcast, and so what did you think about this news?
I was really interested in it because I thought the whole narrative of letting Rashawn Holmes go was because Trey Lyles was going to be our small ball 5. And then we re-signed Alex Len as well. So I was really confused on, where Nerlens really sits with this team because we saw a resurgence of Alex Len towards the tail end of the, let's say last 20 games of the year. Mike Brown knew that we were going to play and we were going to need him in the playoffs. So we got to ramp up his minutes. And so I think this is kind of just a plan B or like a plan F, I guess, if all things else breaks, break glass and we put Nerlens Noel out there. I don't really see him getting a lot of minutes with our rotation because like Gary mentioned, with Sabonis, we play a lot of small ball and re-signing Trey Lyles, like I mentioned, and re-signing Alex Len. I just don't really know how Nerlens Noel is going to play for us. We all know that Domantas Sabonis isn't a rim blocker or a rim protector, so Nerlens Noel comes in and brings that. So that's really going to help us on the defensive end. And like Gary said, as soon as Toddy hit us with a boom, I think his boom privileges have been revoked. And all Gary said was put your hands up and just don't foul. That's all we need. Put your hands up. Give us, spot minutes when Sabonis is on the bench. If Trey Lyles gets in foul trouble, if Alex Len goes back to Alex Len of the old, just come in here and give us spot minutes and just be able to hold down the defensive end. And that's really what we need. And we all saw Looney, having 22 boards and then coming the next night and having 23 boards. So this really just helps solidify our back end. And I really think he's going to play a role. I don't know when he'll play a role, but when his number is called, I know he'll be ready.
Just to follow up on that, Kevin, before I get Toddy's thoughts on this, is I think that we'll see Trey Lyles more likely potentially as their starting 4, depending on what they want to do with Keegan and Harrison Barnes. Because Keegan might be your starting 4 if you're still going to have Harrison in the starting lineup. I would assume a Kevin Huerter at the 2. Obviously, Fox and Sabonis are in there as well. So maybe Trey Lyles could be your starting 4 if it's not a Keegan/Harrison Barnes, depending on that situation. And also, I'm not completely sold on Alex Len yet. So even though I threw a little bit of shade Nerlens Noel's way for his injury history, he is a solid option to be your backup center at 1 year, $3.1 million. And since I'm still not sold on Alex Len, he's an option there. And also, we got to remember injuries are a factor, unfortunately. So this gives the Kings more depth at that big man position. And also, foul trouble tends to happen a lot in NBA games, especially when the Kings are matched up against some of the best bigs in the NBA, like a Nikola Jokic 3 times a year and a Joel Embiid twice a year. And so I think Nerlens Noel comes in and fits and provides that option. So what do you think, Toddy?
I mean, I was saying that in the group chat that he could probably be the backup center. Kevin doesn't think so because they play small ball. Nerlens like what, 6'11", 6. Yeah, so he was a guy once. You really just need him to block shots, get rebounds. He's like a taller version of Rashawn Holmes, basically. Probably can shoot free throws as well. But I think you needed rim protection in the playoffs last year, and it showed. Mike Brown did dig deep into the bench and go with Alex Len. I think Nerlens Noel can kind of provide that rim protection, like Kev already said. So we'll kind of see how it looks, how it plays out with this year. The Kings roster is pretty much the same. They kind of are just running about the same roster with a little bit of tweaks here and there. But I thought this was a solid signing for very cheap for a guy that can, protect the rim.
I completely agree, and very cheap is the best way to word it for sure. And the last thing I'll say about Nerlens Noel before we move on is when I think about Nerlens Noel, the first thing I think about every single time, the flat top. Every single time. It was 10 years ago, but I will always think
Wasn't
of
he
the
drafted like fourth?
The 76ers, when they were picking all the centers for like 3 years.
Yeah,
I felt bad
they
for
went
the other two guys
Embiid, Jahlil Okafor, then Nerlens Noel. Yep, exactly.
I felt bad for those guys. I feel like they got in a bad situation too. Like you're literally drafting the same position over and over again.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation. So I'm interested to see how Nerlens Noel performs on the Kings. So welcome to Sacramento to Nerlens. Unfortunately, our guy Kevin just stepped away. He may be using the bathroom right now, and so I will serve as our impromptu host because, gentlemen, it is time for Sac or Cap with Kevin. And Kevin, welcome back. Let's get it going.
So we all saw Toddy's nose and eyes and ears bleed green. So it's only right we start with a Boston Celtics factor cap. So Toddy, I'm gonna go to you last. I want to hear the room's opinion before I hear yours because I know you're gonna go on for a tangent. So I want to save that for last. So Garry, I'm gonna go to you first. Fact or cap? If the Boston Celtics don't win a championship this season, Jaylen Brown is more likely to be moved than Joe Mazzulla. Fact or cap?
That is an in-depth question, Gabe. Is Jaylen Brown likely to be moved? I think if cap. They're not. They should not. I think even though I was playing DA with Devil's Advocate here with Toddy here, but I was not. I don't think that Jaylen Brown's gonna get moved next year, guys. I still think that at the end of his contract he might not be there because they've been trying to get rid of him, things of that nature. Maybe he might not be happy. But I feel like now if the Celtics don't even knock on the door on a championship, Kev, then I can see this happening for sure, a fact. But if they're knocking on the door, like we've been saying, like Toddy said, the top three and the odds already for making the finals and winning the championship, if they can get to the championship or if they can win the championship, I think that both these guys' jobs would be saved. And I don't ever think a player is going to be traded before a coach if they're doing the blame game situation here. So even though obviously we know they've been they don't want to do too much turning. It's never good for any team in any sport to keep turning the coach over. So I feel like that would be a bad idea for the Celtics next year as well. But Cap, I don't think they would trade Jaylen Brown first over Joe Mazzulla. Not just yet.
All right, Shaun, I'm going to go to you next. If the Celtics fail again to win a championship, Jaylen Brown is more likely to be moved than Joe Mazzulla. Cap for Cap.
Well, Garry said it. Sister Alex said it. It's Cap for me. And Toddy, I think that this situation is very interesting to say the least moving forward, and it's very volatile. It could go either way. But the reason why I say Cap is because I think the Celtics will do everything they possibly can to make this work and to squeeze every drop out of this duo that you can with the potential that they might have. And also, the Celtics just hired a guy in Sam Cassell, who is a head coach waiting in the wings. And because of Sam Cassell, I think that the Celtics might look his way before they end up getting rid of a Jaylen Brown, unless it's for the right package. And so for that reason, I say cap.
All right, so I'm going to answer my own question. I told you guys Toddy would go last. I think this is a fact. I think they had an opportunity to pick any coach after the Ime situation, and they chose to keep it in-house and then chose to go with Joe. We saw that once he got hired, his whole assistant staff really fell apart. So I think they're going to go all in, like Shaun mentioned with Sam Cassell, bringing in the right kind of guys to keep around, because we've seen them change coaches. Brad left. Was it Brad? No. Was it Ime? No. But the same players are around. So we're just going to keep running this into a wall until we just cry. I think at some point, if the Celtics cannot win a championship this year, or at least make it to the finals, I think we're going to have another summer like last year, where every day is a new Jaylen Brown trade coming up. And I think they're just going to run into a wall, like Toddy mentioned earlier in the podcast when we had that going on. 5 straight conference finals. We went to the finals, and how many rings are there to show for it? We played for the Boston Celtics, arguably one of the best. Top 2 conference or team in the association. They have the legacy. They have the Bill Russells, the Larry Birds, the Paul Pierce,
pressure.
They want rings. They're not sitting around here to just keep paying dudes for no championships. If you keep getting to that front door and you keep knocking, they don't let you in. Are you just gonna keep knocking, or you gotta try to change things up? I think Joe Mazzulla is going to be here to stay. So I definitely think this is fact. If anyone is to go after another Celtics season that doesn't end in a championship, Jaylen Brown will be the one out. So, Toddy, I'm going to ask you next, fact or cap. If the Celtics lose again or to fail to reach the finals, is fact or cap, Jaylen Brown will be moved over Joe Mazzulla?
Well, I mean, we just went to the finals 2 years ago, last year, or whatever you guys want to call it. Just went to the conference finals, like I already said in the previous segment. We just signed Jaylen Brown to a $304 million contract. I don't know if you heard about that. Just signed Joe Mazzulla, who was the first-year coach. Oh, yeah, he went to the Eastern Conference Finals in his first year ever coaching, ever being a head coach. So, I mean, it just doesn't really make sense. I mean, he only coached for 1 year. And, now we're like, he's got to go. He's out. He's out of there. Let's get rid of him. He went to the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's send him off. Get him out of here. So, I mean, it's nothing for me. There's no fact. There's no cap, because nobody's getting moved, because we've only been together for a year. So
to the listeners, that means Toddy does not want to admit that Jaylen Brown will be the one who gets to see the door.
Shaun, are you eating popcorn or fries, bro? Hold on. What is my man doing right now?
It's a show. He's tuned in, man. Toddy's putting on the show. So
it's popcorn. Right.
So we're gonna move on from the basketball. I can see Toddy's getting pretty upset. So we're moving on from the football. All right, so we're moving on from the basketball. So we're gonna move on to football. Factor cap. Toddy, I'm gonna go to you next. The Dolphins have the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. Fact or cap?
Duos.
You do your homework, man?
I'm thinking there's Brandon Ayuk, Debo. There's.
That's the first one you think of?
I mean, I'm a Niners fan. There's Devontae, AJ. Not really duos like that are just, wow, this duo is crazy. I mean, there's Jamar, there's Jamar and T. Higgins.
Hill and Waddle, Brown and Smith. AJ Brown and Deontay Smith.
All right. Yeah, I already said them. Oh, okay. Like, Stephon doesn't really have a dance partner like that. Travis Kelce is kind of by himself. Garrett Wilson is young. There's, Steelers got a cool you got Pickens, Deontay Johnson. I
wouldn't even mention them. Thank you, brother.
I'm just thinking, just like off the top of my, there's Elijah Moore.
Okay, Toddy.
I'm just, I can't really, there's not, yeah, probably. I would say fact. I'm just thinking about, I think both these guys had 1,200 yards last year apiece. Over 1,200 yards apiece. So, I mean, the stats say that it's a fact. So I would probably have to say that's a fact.
All right, Shaun, now that you're done eating your popcorn, I'm going to come to you next. Fact or cap, the Dolphins have the best wide receiver duo in the NFL.
I just want to say real quickly, I was eating the popcorn for dramatic effect because I was just laughing my ass off internally at Toddy's Celtics misery over here. Like the fact that like he should be celebrating the fact that one of his best players just re-up for 6 years, and we're making him so miserable with all these questions. Like, I'm sorry, Jay. It was it got a little too entertaining for me, so I had to break out the leftover popcorn from last night. Anyways, getting back to this, so we got the Dolphins as not really. I mean, we're also on a budget here. I'm not a baller like you, unfortunately. Anyways, let me answer the question. The question for all the audio listeners who got distracted by all of my nonsense: the Dolphins have the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. Factor cap, that's a fact. Because just like Toddy said, stats over politics. To me, the Dolphins have proven it. And you could look at the Eagles with a Devontae Smith and an A.J. Brown. You could look at the Buccaneers with a Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. You could look at the Bengals with the Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. But to me, even though Waddle's still early on in his career, what I've seen from him already, and just the fact that he's being coached by Mike McDaniel, who's a part of that Shanahan coaching tree, I think that that's going to help these two wide receivers excel. And that's why this is the best wide receiver duo in the NFL.
All right, Gary, we heard you talking about your Steelers love, so I'm going to go to you next. Factor cap, the Dolphins have the best wide receiver duo in the NFL.
Fact, Kev. I think that's 3 for 3 so far. In fact, like Shaun mentioned, there's other two guys really in the running right here is obviously Hill and Waddle, Brown and Smith, and Chase and Higgins. And I think who's really gonna be close. I really think your guys, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, really put a big old stamp last year, making it close. But I just feel like just the deficiencies of Tua compared to Jalen Hurts and what they were able to do on that Dolphins team with those two wide receivers, especially in the beginning of the year when Tua was still healthy. I just feel like those two guys are just like off defensive coordinators looking at that tandem like, what do? We try to stop Tyreek up top. He's blown by guys. We know, like Shaun said, Waddles is still young, but he really got this route tree and his inside-outside game really cooking. So that's why I feel like I'm going to pick them just because I feel like Tyreek Hill, out of all these guys, I really do feel like is one of the best receivers. I know maybe that'd be my hot take because of his height or whatever, but in my opinion, he's just one of the greatest receivers right now. So I feel like just his speed makes it just so dangerous that I feel like I got to pick the Dolphins in this duo as the best wide receiver. But the other two are right on the tail. I think the Bengals probably get taken out of that, not because of their greatness, it's just because of Joe Burrow's greatness. It's one of those conversations I feel like where we have to deduct a little bit of the quarterback's greatness from the wide receiver duo. So in my opinion, Tua was like the least greatest quarterback, and they did a lot with him. So I feel like the Dolphins have the best wide receiver duo in the league right now. But Kev, come on, I know the Eagle love is coming. Come on, forward through.
By the way, just for context, Jaylen Waddle had 1,300 yards and Tyreek Hill had 1,700 yards. So I mean, and they played
stats I know for sure.
Thompson and Tua
but you know, I mean, the eye test on this one too is pretty evident too, especially last year. If you remember those games, they were going crazy.
I don't know what you could. Kev, go ahead and pull up AJ Brown's numbers and Devontae Smith's numbers from last year. Shaun, you can do that because he's about to give us why he's that. So go ahead, Kevin.
So the question is, factor cap, the Dolphins have the best wide receiver duo in the NFL. So we talked about duos. I not even on my list was there a Brandon Ayuk and Debo. They don't
not
even.
mine either.
You think about the top.
Hey, at least I didn't mention them.
There is no
Thank you,
Deontay
Shaun.
Johnson and whoever the hell you had to mention guy
Oh,
was.
pick it. All right, hold
There's-
on, Kev.
Hell no,
about
Gary, shut the
duos.
fuck up. Let him go.
There's Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, there's Devontae Smith, there's AJ Brown, there's T. Higgins, and there's Jamar Chase. And then it's the Miami duo. When you think about duos, those are the only duos I can even bring to the conversation. Yes, you can talk about the Mike Williams, Keenan Allen. They're not healthy enough to me, so I wouldn't
Yeah,
put them
that
in this
one.
conversation. So going off of non-bias, unfortunately, fellas, we're going to have to all be here on the same thing. I'm going to say this is a fact. The numbers do not lie. We saw Tyreek Hill be able to do it with Patrick Mahomes, and now we're seeing him do it with Tua Tagovailoa. We've seen Jaylen Waddle do it in a year without Tyreek Hill, and then to see him come on and do it with Tyreek Hill. So we saw his numbers kind of go down. So I definitely have to say they have the best wide receiver duo. But I think if we have this conversation 9 months from now, I think it's going to be a completely different conversation, and we're all going to be bleeding green. But as of today, I'm the stat guy, so I can't go and say all these numbers that don't add up to the 17 and the 13. So I have to, I have to stay down to the name and have to stay down and stay solid, stay where my feet are. So this is a fact. The Miami Dolphins do have the best wide receiver duo.
Would you rather have Jaylen Waddle or Devontae Smith?
Devontae Smith. Don't ask me another question like that.
That was close. Come on now.
It's not close at all. We're talking about number twos. I'm taking Smitty over any number two. We had this conversation.
Yards is number two. He's a number
We're
one.
taking. All right, hey.
He's another number
They were
one.
teammates at one point.
70-some receptions. That's cute. I'm just saying,
Kevin,
dog.
who got drafted higher between the two teammates, though?
I think Devontae did.
Devontae.
No, I
Did
think
Waddle go top 5? Because Smitty was 6.
Waddle, if I remember correct, wait, Smitty was 6?
Yeah,
Okay.
Smitty was 6. I don't think Waddle was top 5.
I might be wrong. I might be wrong then, because for some reason I thought Smitty went
because
like
Waddle
11,
was hurt
and
coming out of college.
Yeah.
Waddle. I think Waddle went like 7, and I thought Smith went 11. I could be wrong, but
He won the
wide receiver 1. Wide receiver 1 coming out of the draft, man. What are we talking about?
Heisman Trophy winner.
Hey, Toddy, keep it going. Keep it going.
Well, I mean, throwing it back to Shaun and Vaughn, I was really high on Devontae Smith before he became an Eagle, and I let the propaganda get in the way. But I was really high on Devontae Smith, and it was because he won the Heisman, and like he was the first to do it since Tim Brown. Like, it's very impressive, and he did it as the Slim Batman. So props to him. Anyways, Kev, keep us rolling.
All right, Toddy. You have been in my ear all summer about this guy and his partner. So I'm going to come to you first, Toddy. Fact or cap? Cowboys, Trayvon Diggs is a top 5 NFL cornerback.
Yes.
Fact or cap?
Fact.
I need your list.
My top 5 list. I don't really have there's not really an order to my list, but I'll just give 5 best guys. I think Trayvon's on there. So Trayvon, gotta have Sauce in there. Sauce is in there. Jair's in there. Love Jair. Pat Surtain's probably in there. I like Jaylen, but Jaylen didn't have a good year last year. So I'll go with Slay 5. Yeah, I'll go with Slay 5. So we got Trayvon, Sauce, Pat Surtain, Jair, and Darius Slay. So those no order in that. Some honorable mentions I will say. Marshawn Lattimore is a guy that a lot of people don't really give a lot of love respect to.
From the Ohio State University.
I didn't know he went to Ohio State. That's crazy.
Stephon Gilmore.
Steph is in there for sure.
Own team.
Like we already said, Jalen Ramsey is up there. There's some dogs out there for sure. We'll see how Xavier Howard, if he bounces back this year, he can be a guy. Mooney Ward, yes, I said Mooney Ward. He's out there. He's a guy that can for sure show some promise for sure. There's a bunch of guys out there. The guy
Humphreys.
Woolen from Seattle is pretty good. He's pretty good. You said who, Gary?
Marlon Humphreys from the Ravens.
Yeah, Marlon's solid. I think Marlon's he's a good corner for sure. There's a lot of dope corners out there for sure, but those will probably have to be my 5.
All right, Shaun, I'm going to go to you next. Fact or cap? Cowboys, Trayvon Diggs is a top 5 NFL cornerback.
He's not. Y'all
like
not fuck with Trayvon. That's crazy to me.
Kevin's going to like
And
it.
I hate the Cowboys.
I mean, I hate the Cowboys too, but this is stats over politics, Jaevon, and so we're letting the politics go here. We're not going to push our narratives. We're not going to let our biases shine through. But genuinely, the reason why I do not like Trayvon Diggs as much as everyone else is because to me he is a boom or bust
corner.
He is. Am I wrong? He's
all pro. He makes the Pro Bowl consistently. So I boomer bust. He's the top 5
consistently, Toddy. You don't even know what number he wore as a rookie. I'm talking about consistently. 2 seasons.
He's made All Pro once. 2 Pro Bowls, All Pro.
Well, last year
he's been in the league since 2020. So, anyways, to me, the Cowboys do not have 2 top 5 corners on their team, and to me,
I had 2 rookies in my freaking quarter list.
Trayvon Diggs Trevon Diggs is not even the best corner on his own team because Stephon Gilmore is a former defensive player of the year. Toddy, call me when Diggs does that. Call me when Diggs does that. I don't care if Gilmore has had 8 more years in the league. Call me when he wins a defensive player of the year award by being a corner. Because to me, that award is for nothing but defensive linemen most of the time. And Stephon Gilmore won that award. And so to me,
Bill.
I don't even think that he's the best corner on his own team. Then we throw in other names like a Sauce
Bill was
Gardner,
the
Jalen Ramsey
coordinator,
when
though. Let's
healthy.
not forget that.
Yeah, and Darius
That
Slay,
helps.
he's up there as well. And so to me, no, this is cap. Trevon Diggs is not a top 5 NFL cornerback, Kevin.
All right, Gary, I'm going to go to you next. Factor cap. Is Trayvon Diggs the top 5 NFL cornerback?
Well, Uncle Manny, little brother Jesse about to be pissed because, you know, they're Cowboys fans, and my cousin Arvinder, too. He's going to be telling me, he's been telling me this the whole time. But he is not top 5 right now. He is close to, he's on the edge, Vaughn. He's on the edge. My personal reason why I don't like him, not like him, I do like him as a corner, but I mean as in my top 5. I got my top 5 right here: Patrick Surtain, Sauce Gardner, people you guys mentioned. Jalen Ramsey, I feel like still has some things to show, and he's still in that top 5. And Darius Slay and Jair Alexander, I feel like that rounds about my top 5. So I feel like he is close. I feel like last year I probably would have put him in there, but at the same time, I really do feel like he's too much of a gambler for me. And I feel like when I see a corner, I like my corners to be like Revis Island shut down. It's all locked up on this side type, can move around as well. And I feel like, yeah, he does do that. But at the same time, I feel like he's a gambling man, which, you know, it can go hit or miss. He can come with a pick 6 all the way and change momentum like he has done many times for his team, especially his rookie year. Or it can go boom, gamble, and boom is a TD for that other team all the way. So, in my opinion, I would prefer these top 5 guys more, as I feel like they're just a little more solid and they play a little more higher level for, I wouldn't say a little longer, because like Vaughn mentioned, we got some rookies on this thing too. So I feel like it's close, but Trayvon Diggs, sorry my guy, you will not make it as a Cowboy on my list.
So it's my turn. Factor cap is Cowboys Trayvon Diggs a top 5 NFL cornerback. I'm the stats guy. I'm the guy who brings the numbers. So let me go ahead and bring some numbers. Over his career in the NFL, he's given up 165 completions. That's the 14th most in his time span. He's allowed 1,888 yards, second most in that time span. In 2021 alone, so let me go ahead and give you an exact year. 1,268 yards allowed, most in any NFL season for an NFL corner ever in the NFL history. 2022, what have you done for me lately? Gave up 184 yards in one game, which is also a season high for the 2022 season for a corner. So the question is he top 5? Hell no. This is cap. Let me give you an order. We have Pat Surtain at 1, Sauce Gardner at 2, Jair Alexander at 3, Jalen Ramsey at 4, and Big Play Slay at 5. I don't even think Diggs is 6. At 6, I would have Marlon Humphrey. At 7, I would have Marshawn Lattimore. And at 8 would be Trayvon Diggs. So to answer the question, is he top 5? That is cap.
And JC
got $100 million for no reason. He's not top 5.
Bro, he plays for the Cowboys. Come on now. They paid Dak.
How that looking?
Right? Preach. Anyway, moving on. Toddy, this is your guy. He said he wasn't going to be this.
I don't know what
he
it
said
is.
he wasn't going to be this. He said he wasn't going to be that. So I'm going to come to you first. Fact or cap? Justin Fields is under more pressure to win than Dak Prescott. Fact or cap?
That's cap. Like you said, Kevin, he plays for the Cowboys. Cowboys are America's team, and all this and that. Just the glitz and glamour of the Cowboys, Jerry Jones, just everything that goes with being a Cowboy is that. Now, Justin Fields is under some pressure. He's like 5-20 or whatever. What is his career? He doesn't win games.
One of those 5 was against the Niners.
Okay, but I mean, he's got to start showing some promise now. He's got to start showing some promise now. He was definitely a guy I would have thought that the Niners would have drafted, and we're kind of in the shitter with that right now. But as far as Justin Fields goes, he's he doesn't really have the coaching staff. He doesn't really have that offensive coordinator to kind of lean on. It's a defensive-driven team. They kind of win more defense. Now, they did go out and get DJ Moore, obviously. But I think Poles has a little bit to do. Like, he's trying to build a team around Justin Fields a little bit. So maybe you're starting to see, like, they're starting to get guys around him. But, I mean, this is year 3. We're starting to see, like, guys in their year 3 get extensions. Like, Herbert got extended. We're talking about who's the other guy? Burrow is probably going to be getting extended pretty soon. So, I mean, usually in that 3rd year, you would like to see, but, you know, Kevin always says it's a what have you done for me now lately league. He hasn't really won games. He needs to start winning games. They asked him to do the quarterback series. He said no. Dak also said no to the quarterback series. But, I mean, at least Dak has won playoff games to an extent. Yeah, there were first-round victories, but, I mean, in today's society for quarterbacks, it's like if you're not showing anything after, like, year 1, it's like, all right, like, what are we doing here? Like, we saw the Cardinals move off from Josh Rosen in a year. So now it's just like, okay, like, even with Jalen Hurts, like, Jalen Hurts went to the playoffs. So you were like, there's some promise there. Like, Justin Fields has to start winning games now. So I don't think he's under more pressure than Dak because Dak has all of the money, especially the Cowboys, and there's just a whole bunch of pressure going with Dallas. He should be worried about not throwing 10 interceptions because he said he's not doing that. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm going to go with Cap.
All right, so I'm going to go with the Buckeyes, the Ohio State Buckeyes fans last. So, Gary, I'm going to go to you next. Factor Cap. Justin Fields is under more pressure to win than Dak Prescott. Factor Cap.
I think this is Cap, kind of picking on what Vaughn said in terms of just being a Dallas Cowboy quarterback. If you want to take that away too, just Dak, obviously now is now going to year 3 in terms of coming from the leg injury. This is, like, I don't know what year he's in, but he's obviously been the Dallas Cowboys quarterback for quite a while now, since Romo left, and he's been in the booth for a little while now. So I feel like it's about time for them to make some big wins right here. Like he said, he already came out and said he knows that his interception issue was a big problem for them not having a great season last year, like, I guess a prosperous season, whatever you want to call it. And I feel like Dak's under a lot of pressure. He got paid, and they're letting the coach McCarthy now call plays, which is supposed to be helping him now more. So they're trying to do everything here for Dak to set him up for success. Now I think it's all on him to make it happen. I feel like obviously Justin Fields is still young, like Vaughn mentioned too. Like, these young quarterbacks do have a time frame. It's not as a long runway as it was before, I feel like, which is good, positive, negative. But I guess since you see so many young quarterbacks prosper so early, you gotta put that pressure on the young guys as well. Now I feel like that's the new level of expectation now. So I feel like Justin Fields it does have some pressure to him because they didn't draft a QB in his position this year. So he's going to have to show up and show that he's worth something. Again, going back to, I thought their team is not all the way set him up for success just yet. So I feel like he does have a little bit of out in a couple things, but I do feel like he has pressure to get some wins, get some notable wins. I think that'll be the main thing. It might not be great wins, but if he gets some notable key moments where you can see greatness coming from him, I feel like that's a good thing. It'll take the pressure off him. But for sure, it's Cap. Dak Prescott has all the pressure, not even just the regular Dallas Cowboy pressure that always comes with it. He got a lot of extra pressure on too, just because of what they've been doing the last 25 years, 30 years,
All right, Shaun, let's see if you mix it up for us. Factor Cap. Justin Fields is under more pressure to win than Dak Prescott.
Unfortunately, I will not be mixing it up because this is definitely Cap. I mean, Jaevon covered it pretty well in regard to just playing for America's team and playing for the Cowboys. But also, given that this is stats over politics, just looking at the numbers from last year, because Jaevon hit the nail on the head, that Justin Fields is 5-20 as an NFL starter. I don't think that is so much his fault, but more fault of the surroundings.
He is the quarterback.
And,
so he's got the blame.
He is the quarterback, indeed. And he is, indeed. And he is a quarterback who led his team to a 3-12 record last year when he started. And so he got 3 wins. Yes, Kevin, one of them were against the San Francisco 49ers in week 1 in the monster. Yes, we all saw it, and we will all cannot forget it because you will not let us. And so the Bears won 3 games last year. The Cowboys won 12. If you do math, the Cowboys won 4 times as many games. And so to answer the question, Dak Prescott is certainly under more pressure to win because he set the bar so high. Yeah, he threw a lot of interceptions. Shout out to my guy Bob from my cousin's group chat where we play FanDuel because he's a diehard Cowboys fan and he is in denial about Dak's interceptions. But anyways, to answer the question, this is Cap. Justin Fields is not under more pressure than Dak Prescott.
All right, everybody, sit back and take some notes because Kevin's about to take you guys to school. So, fact or cap, is Justin Fields under more pressure to win than Dak Prescott? This is a fact because, Toddy, like he mentions, the quote-unquote next Patrick Mahomes is coming. And how many first-round picks do the Bears have? Not one, but two. They have theirs and the Houston Texans. They can arguably have the number 1 and 2 pick. Who is going to come in and replace Dak Prescott? They're paying all this money. We just talked about Trayvon Diggs. They got Micah coming up. They got CeeDee Lamb coming up. Their guard, Zach Martin, doesn't want to come because he wants more money. So you're not going to be able to pay for a quarterback, and they're not going to be bad enough to draft a quarterback. So Dak honestly isn't in a lot of pressure. We say because it's America's team, like they have to win, they have to do this, they have to do that. He doesn't have a rookie crawling up his neck. He's not going to be on talk shows every day saying, what if he's a bust? If Justin Fields isn't this, Caleb Williams is going to be a Chicago Bear. Like Toddy mentioned with Jalen Hurts, all last season, every day when I turned on the show to ESPN, all they talked about is that, well, if it doesn't work, they have 2 first-round picks to trade up and make something happen. The Bears have the Houston Texans pick and their own pick. Those can arguably be the top 2 picks. So Justin Fields, if he is not winning games, they are going to draft a quarterback. So Dak doesn't really have to fear for a backup. They're not going to bring in somebody to play for Dak. So who's under more pressure this season? It has to be Justin Fields because if he does not show up, all we heard about was Jaylen Brown or Justin Fields doesn't have a number 1 receiver. Like Shaun mentioned, they brought in DJ Moore. So he has no more excuses. They brought in the weapons around. They have Claypool, which is Gary's guy. They have Darnell Mooney. They have Cole Kmet. So they're bringing in the weapons around him. So
Cole Kmet just got a contract extension too. Sorry, Kevin, just want to mention that.
And so Justin Fields is under a lot more pressure because, like I mentioned, they can arguably have the number 1 and 2 pick.
They got to win a division, Kev.
The Cowboys?
No, the Bears.
I hope so. I definitely think, we talked about it last year about the Vikings being a fluke. So I definitely can see them winning the division, and I think that's what it's going to take. I think if he does not win the division or at least make the playoffs, they are going to have that conversation at the end of the year.
How about just getting 5 wins?
That's not going to be enough. So we have Caleb Williams. Toddy talks about him already being top 15. The guy who paints his nails to lose to Utah twice. So there's Caleb Williams. No. There's not even Caleb Williams. They have the guy from North Carolina. This is a loaded quarterback class. Shedeur Sanders, Heisman watch. I don't know. We got Barney's hotline coming up, so I don't know if the odds are going to come up. But factor cap, this is a fact. Justin Fields is under more pressure just because of the draft capital that the Chicago Bears now have. So if he doesn't win, he's going to be on his way out.
I think there's like 3 or 4 guys, not to switch up the topic on you, Kev, but I think there's like 3-4 more guys that have more pressure than Justin Fields, to be honest. I think Lamar probably got crazy.
All their teams have 2 first-round picks.
That is true. You want to talk about that type of pressure, but I'm talking about the pressure of
that kind of pressure.
We got to win.
Pressure.
I mean, in terms of the picks and being the pressure. But at the end of the day, if you're doing good, then I guess they're not going to use the picks on that. I'm talking about the pressure of winning now. Like the Bears haven't been winning the last few years, so it's like, why do they have to win right now? You know what I'm saying? I feel
Jalen Hurts.
Hurts. I got a lot of pressure. Okay, I guess I can't. No, I don't believe that he's the. He don't have more pressure than Justin Fields.
Don't listen to the 2 guys on the top.
No, but I want to mention some guys. I do feel like.
Hey,
can we let Garry talk? Can we let Garry talk?
Can you let Garry talk? And he lost both of his coordinators. I think he's under a lot of pressure. He had 1 good year. Let's see if he can do it again. I'm not saying he's not going to do it, but he's under a lot of pressure.
To do what?
Back to do
Hold on, Garry. Let me eat. What is he under pressure to do?
To win.
To win what? The NFC? He already did that. To win the division? He already did that.
Okay. He lost. So he did it once. Let's see him do it.
We're talking about guys. The question is Justin Fields. Has he won to the playoffs? No. Has he won the division? No. Has Dak won the division this year? No. So the pressure scale, if we're talking about Jalen Hurts,
one of the richest contracts in NFL history, and he lost both his coordinators.
After
he has a first place schedule now. So let's figure out if he can really do it.
You know what, Toddy? Hold on. Put some money on it. You tell me the pressure he's under, and we'll make a bet right now. You say he's under pressure. Give me something he has to hit. Go ahead, take your time.
I don't know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
then don't say anything. Then, if you're not gonna have nothing to back it up,
I'm trying to figure out what you're trying to say. Like you're saying
You're saying he's
the
under
bet,
pressure.
yeah?
Pressure do what? Pressure do
what's
what?
the bet?
What
Needs to
is
win
he under
games.
pressure to do? He does that. He wins games.
Let me jump in real quick. So what Toddy's basically asking Kevin is just and what Kevin is asking of you, Toddy, is let's set a barometer. So obviously pressure isn't something that we can truly measure. So stats over
Got a
politics,
first
right?
schedule now. Let's see what he look like.
So do you think, Toddy, what do you think? Do you think that Jalen Hurts needs to get another first round bye as the number 1 seed in the NFC? Like, what do the Eagles need to do for him?
Gotta
to
do all
prove
the above.
himself?
They're saying that he's a top 5 guy. Okay. He signed his contract. He's got to win the division, right? Again, let's see if they can win the division again. They probably
That's
will.
something that has not been done in 20 years in the
Let's see
NFC
if
East in having back-to-back division winners.
they lost both of their coordinators. So let's see if was it a fluke last year? I mean, the year before that, they went 9-8. They get a 3rd place schedule. They go 13 and whatever, and then go all the way to the Super Bowl. Okay, Jalen Hurts outplayed Patrick Mahomes. We saw all of that. He was hurt. Can he stay healthy? He missed games last year. Okay,
he outplayed the best
there's
quarterback in the
absolutely
world.
pressure. He signed a massive contract. Now let's see if he can do what he did last year. He signed his contract over 1 year. We usually don't see that from quarterbacks.
Okay, let me hit you with this. Is Herbert under pressure?
Yes,
absolutely.
Tua is under pressure.
Absolutely.
Hold on. To do what? To do what?
Absolutely, win games.
Herbert?
What has he done?
Why would he?
Pressure to win.
They just lost. They just lost 20. They gave up a 27-0 lead last year.
And
he got a contract. He's under
Because
pressure
top
now
five?
because look at his team. He has dudes all over the place. He has Joey Bosa. He's got Khalil Mack. He has Derwin James.
You don't think there's pressure on him?
You're not going to be able to pay
on
guys
Herbert?
like that. You're not going to be able to pay guys
he
like
plays
that.
in one of the
to have them
hardest
on the
divisions
team.
in the fucking world. We're
Yeah,
not really
Yeah, but
expecting
he's
much.
regarded as a top 5 talent.
Hold on.
Okay, take out the Broncos. The Broncos are supposed to be pretty good.
The Raiders.
Take out the Raiders. Okay, take out the Raiders. The Broncos
Kevin,
can still have
let
potential
me-
to be good.
But the
Kevin,
Eagles
I
have
know
the
it.
hardest
I know
division,
exactly.
though, right?
I just want to jump in just to say, Kevin, I know exactly what you were saying in terms of one of the hardest divisions to win. Not the division like competing against like 2 games a year against the Raiders. That's cakewalk. 2 games a year against the Broncos. That's cakewalk. But the Chiefs have that schedule too.
We'll see
And
what
the
Sean
Chiefs
Payton.
are just elite. And so I get what Kevin meant just in regard to the hardest division to win. As far as the depth of the
Chiefs.
division, it's like the NFC East is near the top with that in regard to the Giants. And you could make an argument about several other divisions. So anyways, Kevin, I got your point with that. Gary, did
My
you want to jump
division
right
is
in
the
on this real
toughest
quick?
one. I just wanted to say,
It probably is.
I was trying to name off. We can actually have a debate on what was the best division now, but the toughest
Save
division
it
to
for
win.
another week.
Yeah, we'll save. I was just gonna say we can throw this pressure thing all types of ways with different quarterbacks. I was gonna just say one last statement that Herbert, I believe, is a little more pressure than Justin Herbert in a different aspect. Maybe not because he won, Kev, but he needs to start more winning because he is regarded as a top 5 talent. I think Tua, because of his injuries, if he doesn't again, back to your point of he might get replaced, and again Garoppolo. This might be his last stand, buddy. We're gonna get together. So you don't think Jimmy's under no pressure? If he's done, he's out the league. Your quarterback that took you to the Super Bowl is out the league.
I mean,
He's not out the league, but he would be a backup.
Backup, yeah. So I mean, like
From your
people
starting
look at
quarterback
the
that you guys
Raiders,
preached about to backup, that's
there's no
lot of
real
pressure to
Do
keep
the Raiders
alive.
think they can win the division? They don't believe that.
No,
They don't.
No, we just
Jimmy's
said it was
under
the hardest division to win.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think
So for the
I
audio
think the Raiders
we
will
cooking
out
today.
there, this conversation will continue in the group chat, but because we have time to do and we have a lot of other topics to go to, I'm going to let Shaun take over. But this is not over.
This is not
All right. I love it, Kevin. I love it.
pressure.
We came.
All
with
right,
the
so we're gonna
smoke
keep thinking-
today, I ain't gonna lie.
Man, they've been going at it, and I love it. And so just getting back to more of the topics that we have, Toddy made me aware today of a quarterback tiers list from Mike Sando of The Athletic. And Toddy asked me, he said, are we going to talk about the tiers list? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. So Toddy sent it my way, and I was like, all right, let's talk about it. So Toddy, I'm going to throw this to you first before I do, I just wanted to read off the tiers for everyone. And again, so this is from Mike Sando, who's an NFL writer for The Athletic.
Big J, or something, Big J.
I've heard the name, but I don't know too
Medium
much
J.
about him. So
Medium J.
medium check. And so, and this, I don't believe that this was Mike Sando's opinion, as it's said in this tweet from Dov Kleinman. 50 total NFL insiders, including 8 general managers, 10 executives, 10 head coaches, and 15 coordinators, ranked their 30 quarterbacks by tiers and via The Athletic and Mike Sandow. So here are the tiers. We got 4 of them. First tier: Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Justin Herbert. Yeah, you guys heard that right. Justin Herbert. Tier number 2: Jalen Hurts in the second tier. That was something that was pretty interesting, is all AFC quarterbacks in the first tier. Jalen Hurts leads off tier 2, followed by Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence, Dak Prescott, Matthew Stafford, Deshaun Watson, and Kirk Cousins. Tier 3: Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, Jared Goff, Russell Wilson, Tua Tagovailoa, Jimmy Garoppolo, Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Justin Fields, Ryan Tannehill, and Mac Jones. Tier 4, after naming off some of the names I just named, it's hard for me to start the list off with this guy, but tier 4: Brock Purdy, Garry's boy, Kenny Pickett, Jordan Love, Baker Mayfield, Sam Howell, Desmond Ridder, and Gardner Minshew. So, Toddy, let's hear about it. What do you think about these 4 quarterback tiers ranked by NFL insiders?
There's not really like a number of quarterbacks that could be in certain tiers, but I do think Lamar is a tier 1 quarterback. He's just hurt, so I feel like that's probably why he's mainly in tier 2. Dak, I would move Deshaun to 3 just based off of him being hurt, or not hurt, just him missing a year, not really playing well last year. So he's not really in the sync of things, but he's probably a tier 2 quarterback. We've seen him play at almost tier 1 level, just him battling out with Mahomes in that playoff game when they went to Arrowhead and were up at halftime, obviously ultimately losing. So we've seen him kind of go at it. I think the tier 1 guys are pretty much spot on. Aaron Rodgers last year, he didn't play like a tier 1 quarterback last year, but I get it all time, multiple time MVP, playoffs, this, that, and the third Super Bowl. We get it. Talent-wise, Aaron Rodgers is up there. Kirk Cousins, I think, Jalen Hurts, you could argue he's in tier 1, but a lot of people will say he had one good year. So they would like to see him do it again. Trevor Lawrence, you could have argued Trevor Lawrence could be in tier 3, but just the playoff game and then, him kind of scrapping and clawing their way into the playoffs last year. It kind of came down to the last game of the year last year. And, he threw 4 picks in a playoff game, so it really didn't look too good. Up until the second half of that playoff game, they ultimately ended up winning. Kind of just going down the list, I think pretty much everything is right. I think Brock should either be tier 3, tier 2, just based on what he did last year in 7 games. But I think tier 4 is pretty insane. He went to the MC Championship, rookie year, Mr. Irrelevant, last player picked. I mean, it's not biased, it's facts. Literally, he went 7-0 as a starter. So, I mean, I don't know what you want me to do. So, for the most part, this list is right. There's probably just a little bit of tweaks that I would probably make on it. I could argue Justin Fields is a tier 4 quarterback. That's really, really talented. Like I say, he's 5-20. So, I mean, yeah, the list is pretty much right for the most part. Just like you said, like I said, there are probably just those little tweaks I'd probably add to it. You're kind of playing with tier 3 and the bottom of tier 3 and tier 4. It's kind of just like you're juggling.
So, I mean, we saw the reactions from our 2 co-hosts who aren't 49ers fans between Kevin and Garry. Garry, I'm going to toss this to you next. I mean, to me, and maybe I'm biased, Kevin and Garry, please let me know. But when I saw names like Mac Jones, Jimmy Garoppolo, Ryan Tannehill, Geno Smith, the one-hit wonder, seeing names like that on that list in the tier above Brock Purdy, that was just outrageous to me, because I'm not going to go as far as Jaevon did to even say maybe tier 2 for Brock Purdy. He's not there yet. Definitely not. But I think he deserves to be in the 3rd tier for what he did last season. I could be wrong. What do you think, Garry? Are we just being biased?
I don't care about your message. All right. To be honest with you, I know the message. All right here it says this is what the article. I'm repeat what the article read. Right. It says I got the article pulled up finally. I didn't know what tiers I was talking about. I was trying to find a picture of it. All right, found it now. So generally speaking, this right here is better equipped on quarterbacks to win with less around them. Okay, that's basically what this whole gist is about. All right, so I understand why your guys' guy is maybe a little lower on the list due to the team. As you guys all know, your guys' team is amazing. There is no doubting that.
Christian McCaffrey's pretty good.
You guys have multiple Hall of Famers, so I think that's the reason why that your guy is maybe in that tier. I do believe, though, looking at the list, I'm not gonna lie. Before I heard the name, I do after you just sent Shaun. There's a couple guys for sure I probably would take over your guys. I would let him go a little higher over a couple of the guys that you mentioned, like let's see here, like Jimmy G. I feel like he's a neck and neck with Geno Smith, as they're both not one hit wonders, but one year wonders. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they should be on the same level for one good year. All right, now let's start back in the top tier one real quick while I'm looking. All right, Mike Sando, you did a really good job with the article, my guy, but this is already a whole bunked up list of me. Starting with number one. Because it goes Patrick Mahomes, everyone else. So I need
that's fair. That's fair.
I need a tier 0, something like that. I don't know, tier 0.
Tier
Ineligible,
yeah, tier Patrick.
tier 0, tier Patrick, whatever you want to call it, from a guy. You know, I forgot. I was like, did you win 2 MVPs or 1 MVP? 2 MVPs, 2 league MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. I think that right here,
a lot of hardware.
This list. A lot of hardware, simple as that. I think that hardware, simple, guys. So I feel like that hardware right there makes him above everyone else. I know last year or maybe year you can say all these guys were neck and neck. But I feel like he's like Kev. You know, I'm gonna say he's pulling LeBron-esque type prime right now, where he is just above the pack, and there's no question that he's the best player in the league right now. So I feel like for that respect, I feel they should give him a tier by himself. Then I feel like they got, like Vaughn said, they got it right so far with Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Justin Herbert. I do feel like, I guess, like you said, the Corners Iron article, basically, if you have a good running game, it says right here, running the ball is not feasible. It basically kind of deters them. So I feel like that's why they met Lamar Jackson, into that next tier. But I do feel like he is on the quarterback tier of these guys due to his being an MVP and due to always winning. So I feel like he should be on the tier. Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, I kind of want to put that in that tier when we had Tom Brady here. It's like the OG tier, wait and see. Like, they're great. I don't want to put them in put them in I don't want to disrespect them, because it's like you said earlier, maybe they're getting maybe they're giving him the OG treatment. Like, all right, bro, we're gonna give you tier 1 just because you OG in this. You done like Super Bowl, great, one of the greatest quarterbacks to play. Maybe they gave him that respect. I don't know. He don't want to. Maybe they want to get on his bad. Maybe Mike don't want to get his bad side already. I don't know where Mike does his reporting at. Maybe it's in New York, but I'm not sure. But maybe that was one of the reasons. But I feel like Aaron Rodgers should be looking into this as well. And then I know my guy, I think Kevin would probably going to be starting. I'll let him get to the Jalen Hurts part. I do feel like Jalen Hurts is in his right tier 2, but he is creeping into the next tier. If what Vaughn said earlier, if he shows it again, what you showed me lately, he showed me something great last year. If he could do it again, I feel like he deserves to be on that list. That's why I feel like Lamar has proven multiple times already in his young career that he deserves. And again, Trevor Lawrence. I think, again, he's in the right tier right now, but I do feel like with him and Justin Herbert, we've talked about last week, they should be kind of next and next. They should be neck and neck together. So I could maybe, I guess you want to bring Justin Herbert down because Trevor Lawrence is down, or you want to bring Trevor Lawrence up, however you want to do that. I feel like that should be done because I feel like they're neck and neck. And I think Dak should be going to tier 3. Simple. Kirk Cousins should be tier 3. I think they should make this tier 2 smaller, because I don't feel like, again, when you say tiers, I feel like those guys are on the same level or close or comparable. And I don't feel like Kirk. I feel like Kirk, Dak, and Matthew Stafford are like around the same area, but they're not in the same league as Lamar, Jaylen, and Deshaun Watson when we going to see this year. But I do predict that he's going to have a bounce back year after his whole dilemma. And also, last guy, real quick before I let you guys go, I want to mention that I feel like should be in that tier I just mentioned with like Deshaun and Trevor Lawrence and Lamar. In terms of, I want Lamar to go up, but if not, he stays there. I want Kyler. I know it's a bad time, but I feel like he did have a lot of great moments, and we all know that their coach had a struggle of ending seasons the last 2-3 seasons. So I feel like maybe a new coach, new culture, things of that nature bringing in. I feel like Kyler has shown a lot of promise. So I feel like he should be up there. And everyone else is like, whatever. Well, I guess I also want to put Russell Wilson in that. I think I already said it in that Aaron Rodgers to be determined, even though he had a horrible year last year. So that's my perspective on the tiers. What I just looked at real quick so far. My bad for being long-winded, my guys.
It's all good. You had a lot to say, Kevin. I want to hear what you got to say now because your boy Jalen Hurts is in the second tier. What do you think about that?
I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. This is like with the GOAT debate. If you have a list that doesn't have LeBron on it, I don't want to listen to it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your reasoning for it. You have a top 5 list without Jalen Hurts in it. I don't want to hear your reasoning for it. All these 8 GMs, 10 head coaches probably aren't in the NFC, or they are in the NFC, and they just got their ass whooped by the Eagles. So I get it, man. You don't want to put them in the top, but
who's your top
I think
5 real quick? I need to know.
everyone belongs there. I just think Josh Allen has. Like I said with Jaylen Brown, I think he's peaked. Like we've seen the best of Josh Allen. Like year after year, they keep knocking on the door, but they can't get in. How many times are we going to keep coming in here and saying he's the top 3 quarterback off of reputation? The only one off of on this list who has the reputation that deserves to be every year top 5 is Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Aaron Rodgers. Justin Herbert, I don't think he belongs in there. How are we going to have the dude that beat him in tier 2 in the playoffs? Sent him home, sent him packing. So if you're going to have a list with a top 5 quarterback and it doesn't start or end with Jalen Hurts, I don't want to hear it. Respectfully.
Well, that's pretty interesting. Anything else? Any of you guys want to say, or should we move on? Good. All right.
What did you think, Shaun?
Well, to be honest, I like I said earlier, I definitely think that Brock Purdy should have at least been in tier 3 because to me, he proved what he is last season, and I also agree that Patrick Mahomes should probably have his own tier 0, tier PM, whatever we want to call it. And other than that, I'm not too upset about it because, like the caveat that was mentioned earlier, this is just about like which quarterbacks do we think can do the most with the least. Exactly. And so the last thing I will say is that considering that I was the only guy on Justin Herbert Island, what was it, last week, and to see him in that tier 1, I feel pretty good about it. Oh, you were? Okay. Garry was on the island. Okay. I'm sorry. I just remember being attacked for my Justin Herbert take. And so now it's time, Toddy. Let's get to it. As Justin Herbert, he agreed to a contract extension with the Chargers, 5 years, $262.5 million. I mean, the thing about this, Toddy, is like it's a given. They had to do it. And it's just locking in their franchise and locking in their future. And so what was your reaction to this news, Jaevon?
I wasn't shocked. I mean, we kind of expected it. He's going into his 4th year of his rookie deal. So I think this is the last year of his rookie deal. So their roster is pretty stacked, I would say, for the most part. They have a lot of really talented guys. Like I kind of mentioned them already. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson is coming off an injury. We had Derwin James, arguably the best safety in the league. You have guys like Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. I think Mike Williams just signed a new contract in the offseason. So Justin Herbert's his clock's starting to tick a little bit. You're not really going to see the flash of as many, Pro Bowl caliber type players that'll be on this team. So he'll probably have to start, he had the opportunity last year to win a playoff game, and they ultimately ended up losing a 27-point lead, which I did lose money on. So thank you, Justin Herbert. Trevor Lawrence threw 4 picks in that game. It was inexcusable for them to lose. But, with the signing of Kellen Moore in the offseason as an offensive coordinator, maybe he might start to lean on Kellen a little bit more. The offense will be able to put up points. I don't think that they've ever really had a problem of doing that. It won't probably get as stagnant. So we'll see what the offense looks like with the changes and tweaks that Kellen Moore applies in the offseason. And, I mean, what were you going to just let Justin Herbert walk? I mean, absolutely not. So
No.
I thought this was absolutely, you kind of had to do this. It was coming either now or in the offseason next year. So they kind of wanted to lock him up early before one of the guys probably will sign like the Joe Burrow and probably be like, oh, he just signed for this? Well, we can get this. So I thought, it was a no-brainer for them to sign Justin Herbert to a contract extension.
How about you, Garry?
Obviously, they had to do this. Justin Herbert, again, you guys know, like I say the word, he's a heemster. He's one of those guys. He's a him. So I feel like he's deserved to get paid. And I obviously there's nothing else to talk about here. He deserves to get paid. Now it's Joey's turn. Like we said earlier, with just the Jaylen Brown thing, the NBA thing, they're just taking turn by turn. Who's going to take the next slice? Now maybe the next one's going to be 270. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be just little inches by inches, which again, back to what I said about Jaylen Brown, that could hurt your team, and I hate to tell guys take less money because if I was a player, I'd be like, I don't care how y'all figure it out. Y'all pay everyone, you know what I'm saying, because it's coming out of y'all pockets. But at the end of the day, if you want to look at a team aspect, you do got to kind of, like Patrick Mahomes is kind of doing. He's taking a little bit of pay cut to, fill up the legacy. And so far, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Simple as that. So far, he's been banking on it, winning for him. So I think Justin Herbert, I don't know if you guys think about it like this because maybe it was my era, but in this era, I kind of relate everyone to like who's going to be the Peyton Manning, who's going to be the Brady, who's going to be the Big Ben, who's going to be the Drew Brees, who's going to be the Rivers. Those are like my 5 guys. I feel like, when we were kind of growing up, like those are the guys and who are going to be, and I'm forgetting Aaron Rodgers, obviously. So if like those like 5, 6, I should take Phillip out. But anyways, those 5 guys really, I feel like who are like, replica. I try to see like, who's going to be who. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, there's only a certain amount of championships, certain amount of awards to win. So I feel like we mentioned earlier, Herbert, Josh, Patrick, Lamar, and this guy right here, Justin Herbert, is going to be in that conversation, and he's going to be fighting the guys like, again, he just played last year, like Kevin just mentioned, Trevor Lawrence, for those opportunities. So I feel like this is a time where, he's going to have to show that, like you guys already mentioned, that, the pressure's on him to take the next step. Not really next step, just for the team to take a next step and, really stacking some wins and being a big factor because everyone's been waiting on, like you guys mentioned earlier, they have guys on this team on defense, especially offense with that dynamic duo and the wide receivers we talked about earlier. They could easily be top 5, top 3 duos if they're healthy. So with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams. So I feel like the Chargers are on the right path. They had to do this right here. So I'm glad my guy Herbert, smart kid. I think he was a biotech major, something crazy like that. Smart, like straight A's, 4.0, everything. Got his money, so that's cool for him to do that. So let's see, if it's gonna be worth it, obviously, but it's more like let's see where this takes him now. Simple. Let's see where this takes him because I feel like that he's a guy, and I feel like he's gonna have to get some more winning done. And everyone can win this league, so someone's gonna get the bad end of the stick, and we're gonna see at the end of the careers who gets the bad end of the sticks. Looking like Josh Allen, could be Justin Herbert. We can see.
Yeah, for sure. And for the audio-only listeners, our guy Kev had to step away to be a dad and to take his dog Blue out. And so Kev will be back in just a moment, but we're going to keep things moving on to our next segment. But before we do, I just wanted to give a shout-out to Kevin Denton Jr., Kevin the Third's dad, as he's commenting on YouTube. He says, in Brock, we trust. Jaevon, is Kevin's dad a 49ers fan?
I didn't know that.
Breaking news?
Yeah, I didn't.
I was say that's a dynamic in the house right there. That's fun.
Man,
I would definitely.
Man. Let us
That's
know.
why Kevin's ready for y'all. That's why he's always ready for y'all.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. Born ready. So now, guys, Gary, you gave me the perfect transition because I heard you mention the words pay cut. And Aaron Rodgers, he just took a $35 million pay cut, downgrading his contract to a 2-year deal worth $75 million with the Jets. And a lot of the money is backloaded, and it's all going to go into next season, basically guaranteeing that he will be back for next season, as he has said to the media. They traded a lot for me, and I think that it would be a little weird for me, or he didn't say weird, but he said it'd be messed up, basically, if I just only came here for 1 year after everything that they gave up to get me. And so, Toddy, I wanted to get your thoughts on this first. What do we think about Aaron Rodgers taking a pay cut? Because it could lead into other stuff.
Devontae Adams. I said it. Could be a reunited. The Jets aren't really paying anybody like that. Like you said, his contract's backloaded. Took a $35 million pay cut. I think Devontae Adams is making about $27-ish million a year. If they can definitely take on his contract, if they do trade for him, that could be let the Raiders start 0-5, which is very possible. If you look at their schedule, it's possible for the Raiders.
Week 3 they're losing.
A very bad start. So if the Raiders, obviously they get Jimmy Garoppolo. We already heard murmurs of Devontae and Jimmy not really clicking early in camp, or it was like OTAs or something like that, and then he kind of had to walk back a couple of comments. So you're always starting to see some discomfort there. He obviously went there to go play with Derek Carr, and Derek Carr is now in New Orleans with the Saints. So we could see the Jets kind of, knock on the Raiders' door a little bit and say, hey, we'll take on that $27 million contract and free up cap space for the Raiders. So this could also mean that, the Jets could sign for Dalvin Cook, create a little – I think, with Aaron Rodgers and with his comments earlier, yesterday about Sean Payton and, keep my coach's name out your mouth and him taking a pay cut and all this. It's kind of, he's kind of buying in to, becoming the leader of the Jets culture and just trying to change the culture a little bit and just win games and be this, that, and the third for the organization. So this says a lot from the guy who was the best player on the team. I'm going to, take a $35 million pay cut, which is quite a big chunk of change. So
Big chunk.
That's a lot of people's salaries is what they can make in a year. So I think Aaron Rodgers is kind of trying to set the tone a little bit here.
What do you think, Garry?
Man, props to Aaron Rodgers. I feel like it's so I don't know. I always be trying to put myself in their shoes. Obviously, I'm not a player, and obviously, I come from a fan perspective, obviously, and just loving the game, things of that nature. But I just be thinking man, if I take a $35 million pay cut, first thing I'm asking is, like I said earlier, for who? For what? What are we doing here? Like y'all got to name.
Do that.
Y'all got to name. No, a lot of people won't do that, So that's why you got to always tip your cap. I feel like it's so easy for tough. Take pay cut, take a pay cut, take a pay cut, help us do good. And I understand that, like I mentioned earlier, you might have to do that to keep your team. I guess, in a float in terms of winning and getting good players around you. But at the same time, it's like, you're in this game. They play this game obviously for the love of football, but also for the love, to make money and secure their family's future and things of that nature. For obviously Aaron Rodgers not gonna probably have, too much of a trouble doing that with how long he's been playing in the game and his endorsement deals and things of that nature. But then again, you never want to count another man's pockets. So I would never doubt him from taking fully that money. So, all you could do is tip your hat to him and say, thank you for doing that. Now I just hope, like we mentioned, they can do something. They can get Dalvin Cook. They can get somebody in the building, Devontae Adams, someone to help this. They should be looking good, obviously, because they have Aaron Rodgers, but obviously they have some deficiencies too with the line. I think they feel like they weren't as good last year. Obviously, that's one of the main points. So did they do enough to help the line for him to have a successful season? I know I mentioned in the group chat, it kind of reminds me if they do get Dalvin Cook a little for Leonard Fournette, when he was on the cheap kind of in a way to Brady to really help him, secure that Super Bowl, really was a big factor in that. So I feel like if Dalvin Cook to get to the Jets can really relieve some pressure, because we know Dalvin Cook still got a lot in him for sure. So I feel like he can relieve some pressure for Aaron. So these moves right here, I just hope that, the Jets do him right by, you traded for him, right? You did all these things now to set yourself up for the future. Now let's just make sure you do go all the way now. Go all the way. Make sure you just go all in for these next 2 years, and because who knows what you're doing after this. You don't know what you got for this Jets, and y'all ain't good, but y'all ain't been good for a long time since I think maybe Mark Sanchez or homeboy was there when who else was there? There's somebody else that was there too.
Mr. Butt Bubble.
Exactly, when Rex Ryan was there and things of that nature. So, and they weren't hella. They were like average. They're on the way up, I guess you could say. But I'm just saying, I feel like this. I really hope they use this to help him, because he don't have to do this. So he did this for them, extended out and things of that nature. And obviously he's still getting money, so I guess it's not for him. He's still going to get money at the end of the day. But in the whole overall aspect of things, I really feel like hope they can do right by him and put some talent around him, because there's no guarantee the talent will work. But at least Jets, in your mind, that we put the best team around him this year and the next year. And at least Aaron knows that I had a really competent pieces around me. And I did that for my team and helping some of these guys get paid and stay here and bringing some guys in to help out. I feel like then everyone can leave the chips where they may at the end of all of it. That's what I feel they should do. You don't want to ever look back like Brady. I don't think he's looking back right now. I feel like he pretty much left all the chips on the table. I feel like as a player, I think that's the best thing you want at the end. Like you just felt like you left everything on there, like on the field and off the field. You just feel like you turned every door to try to win a championship, especially when you're in that conversation, like I mentioned earlier, of where legacy matters. So he's in that legacy conversation, so hopefully this can help him in his legacy, especially with all that nonsense they always talk about him. That's why I love the Pat McAfee show real quick, guys, just because I feel like you got to see more Aaron Rodgers and him as a person. You might not like him or you might love him. Either way, I feel like you're going to respect him what he says, because at the end of the day, a lot of people come across, you might say, every interaction with somebody's different, but they always talk kind of like he's a to himself guy, or like maybe like just all like he basically doesn't care about his teammates. They always kind of say that about him, right? It's I guess what they preach or talk show people say about it. And I don't see that. So I'm glad that he kind of, everyone got to tip their hat today and say, nah, you didn't do anything selfish with this one. So everyone whoever says that about him, got to eat the bullet on that one on this right here with this topic coming out.
Most definitely. And also, we're also going to get a more in-depth look at Aaron Rodgers and how he is with his teammates. I mean, I was scrolling through Twitter earlier and I saw a preview clip for Hard Knocks, and he was talking in the huddle to his teammates. And so we're going to get more of a look in Garry, everything.
Seems like next Tuesday. Yeah.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to it on HBO. And Garry, you mentioned a name as you were giving your response there, and this is something that you wanted to talk about. And I appreciate it, man. You're just tossing me lobs. I'm just trying to dunk them in right now. And so you mentioned Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook is still a free agent running back out there on the market. So, Garry, I'm going to toss this back to you before we hear from Toddy. Where will Dalvin Cook sign?
I think I just mentioned, on ESPN when I had the app earlier, he did talk to the Jets on Sunday. I don't want him to go to the Jets. Simple as that. I just feel like him helping out there. I think it's good. I think it's his match made in heaven in terms of they got money now to pay him that he wants to get paid. It's gonna be, I don't know. Obviously, like I mentioned, the line might not be as perfect for him, but they got some weapons on offense. They got Aaron who's gonna help you in good situations. And the main thing, you've seen Aaron with a good running backs. Obviously, I'm forgetting their names right now. Help me with the names. Another Aaron,
Eddie Lacy, Aaron Jones.
Yeah. Exactly, and he also had the last year. I forget his name. He came out. He was using him a lot as a wide receiver last year. Their second running back. I'm forgetting his name.
AJ Dillon.
AJ Dillon, perfect. Those guys right there. You've seen him work with great running backs before, so he trusts his running back. He knows how to play off it in the run game offense, in the run game play action pass. I meant to say, and so those things I feel like will really help Aaron. I feel like that will relieve some pressure and just help spread the love around that team. So I really hope he does that. So I think I'm preaching the right there. I'm preaching Dalvin Cook to sign with the Jets right now. Any other things you guys think about, Shaun?
There's not really any other team that he's really been visiting.
Buffalo?
Buffalo, I don't think
his brother's there.
His brother is there, but I don't think he went to go visit there or anything like that.
But I don't think he wants to take reps from his brother. I heard something like that too.
Yeah.
The
Jets are kind of like where he's leaning. I feel like there's probably like certain language that they have to iron out in a contract. I don't really see what's stopping him. I mean, he said on an interview, like, the chances are pretty high of him signing with the Jets. So, I mean, I don't even think he's talking to any other team like that. Like, I haven't heard any reports like,
which is crazy.
He's in the Chiefs want him, or the Bills or the Dolphins. I think he might have. Was he talking to the Dolphins at all or anything like that? So
they got enough money though, man.
I don't know if there's really anywhere else that he would sign. I mean, he could go to a shit team and get paid a bunch of money, but he won't be able to win. I think Dalvin Cook kind of wants to win. Aaron Rodgers provides that opportunity. Him obviously taking that pay cut frees up cap space for him. So, I mean, it kind of just makes sense. And I think the Jets are the betting favorite, if I'm not mistaken. So it would be, I think the odds are in the Jets' favor for sure.
All right, I'm going to throw a curveball out there, and Jaevon just threw me a lob right there because he mentioned the Miami Dolphins. To me, Dalvin Cook is without a doubt better than Raheem Mostert, Jeff Wilson, Devin Achane. I'm sorry if I butchered his last name.
Mostert, ex-Niner?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mostert's an ex-Niner. Jeff Wilson's an ex-Niner, just like Mike McDaniel's an ex-Niner. And that's why he's bringing all his former players over to Miami. And I think that Dalvin Cook is without a doubt better than both of them. Myles Gaskin, he proved himself a little bit, but now he's faded back into the depth chart. Shout out to Myles Gaskin from UW. And Devin Achane, as I said, I think I butchered his last name. I apologize. But to me, Dalvin Cook is better than all of those guys. And as you mentioned, Garry, if they have the money, I don't know off the top of my head, and I haven't looked far enough into it to see the actual numbers. They should have something. And if they do, then to me, Dalvin Cook should sign in Miami because, it seems like it's the best situation in New York with Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers just took a $35 million pay cut. When I saw that news, to me, that basically just signaled that Dalvin Cook is on the way. But I'm going to be the devil's advocate for Garry here, and I say that he goes to Miami. But what do you think, G?
I was going to go throw another team out there that maybe we didn't mention that They need some help, especially, if Dalvin Cook could take some pressure off some of these quarterbacks that are a little bit shaky-legged, I guess you could say. And I'm going to say New England. Y'all should be calling Dalvin Cook too, with Mac Jones being your quarterback.
You want to play with McCorkle?
Hell nah.
Not disrespect McCorkle, but I'm just trying to say that let's get
always disrespect McCorkle.
Let's get some help here. Like I'm trying to mention some teams that don't have any running backs right now. Obviously, I just feel like maybe Vegas. I know they're not paying their guy even, so why would they pay another guy? So like these teams are not paying guys, so it's tough. Washington, maybe you want to help some. Teams that Mahomes would be great. But think about Mahomes though. I don't really want him to go to there. Just because it'll be so over. It'll be so over. Call the league a wrap if he goes there. But I just don't want him to go there, Vaughn, just because for Cook, then everyone's gonna say, "Oh, Cook, you were with Mahomes." The whole basically not even giving him credit for winning now because he's with Mahomes. So it's like unless he can pull a juju, like my guy. But then again, that's the wide receiver market, and that's always gonna be different. So you can't even compare that really. So you kind of want him to go to a guy where they actually need him. They need his help. That's like you've seen Saquon got paid for at least 1 year at least because they know Daniel Jones needs him. He's a big part of the offense. So realistically, let's be honest, he should have stayed in Minnesota. I don't know what they're doing there. They act like Kirk Cousins got it all handled and it's all handy dandy, but I guess not. So let's get Dalvin Cook a deal, guys. It's ridiculous. Top 5 running back, not even just searching for a deal. It's just ridiculous, to be honest with you. So I hope he gets a contract very soon here, and that's worth his while and gives him a chance to win and all that.
I really hope so too. And I just wanted to confirm from earlier, Jaevon, it has been confirmed. Kevin Dent Jr. is a San Francisco 49er
Where did
fan.
we go wrong?
Bang, bang, Niner gang. I know. What happened?
Why is Kevin an Eagles fan? It doesn't make sense to me.
He wanted to go against Pops, just like I wanted to go against my whole family with the Cowboys. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to stick it to him. I'm assuming, Kev. I'm assuming that's where it's coming from. We're going to ask Kev next time.
Well, I already got that on the agenda for next week. That's the first thing I'm asking him in the intro. Kevin, why are you an Eagles fan? I just want to know. But we appreciate Kevin Dent Jr.
Because they won
as well.
Oh, sorry.
You're good. So anyways, guys, let's get to this last topic here on episode number 42 of Stats Over Politics, as another running back just recently requested a trade, as Jonathan Taylor has requested a trade from the Indianapolis Colts. And as the lead on the ESPN ticker said, Jonathan Taylor requests trade. Colts owner says, no way. Jim Irsay said, I'm not trading him. And so that was pretty
funny thing to tell you is like, what back injury? I'm not injured at all.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so what do you think about that, Toddy? Where do you think that Jonathan Taylor might go and where he might get traded? He's not a free agent like Dalvin Cook, but do you think that he actually will get traded, or will Irsay follow through on not doing it?
I don't know, man. We're going to see kind of where this, like we were talking about, this last week, a little bit about the Colts and just their situation with Anthony Richardson and the dynamic with, Jonathan Taylor and what it would look like. Shane Steichen kind of being the guy, being the head coach now, and just what the running game would look like. It would look similar to what the Eagles would. They would probably do, a lot of good, solid numbers. So Jonathan Taylor not in the mix, that might change a little bit of things, but I still think that Anthony Richardson has the capability of being able to just run around and do something like a Justin Fields did. He's very explosive. Only played 1 year at Florida, but he was putting up, pretty solid numbers and a lot of highlight reel plays that we saw from Anthony Richardson. So I think the Colts, Irsay already came out and said, if Jonathan Taylor and Jim Irsay died tomorrow, nobody would miss him or something like that. I was like, bro, what is he doing? This is crazy. He's one of your best players on the team. It doesn't make sense to me why who wouldn't want Jonathan Taylor on your team? But
who said that quote?
Irsay, the owner said that.
The owner of the team, Garry.
He said if he dies, we wouldn't lose. What?
Yeah. Just look up the quote. It was pretty.
I'll look it up. I'll look it up for context as Toddy finishes his response.
But I just think, the situation is actually solid that Jonathan Taylor is. I don't know why personally he's requesting a trade. Maybe he's probably trying to get a contract or something like that. He's coming off of an injury. But the year before that, he rushed for like 1,800 yards. So he had like one of the best seasons,
Maybe he was in that running back Zoom call on.
Yeah, I think he was in the running back Zoom call, to be honest. So I think he might want a contract. I wouldn't see why not. It would help Anthony Richardson, tenfold of having, one of the best running backs in the league on your team and kind of, relieve the pressure off of you a little bit. So I don't know, man. Even just we were just talking about Dalvin Cook, trying to sign with the team. Where would Jonathan Taylor go? Most teams kind of already have a running back in place. So you're kind of going down the list of like, you want to go to the Patriots? Oh, no. Most teams already have a running back and a cheap one at that. So a lot of people don't, like we're seeing, a lot of people don't really want to pay running backs like that. They're like in the $11 million, $12 million range is kind of what they're getting, besides Christian McCaffrey, because he does a little bit more. And then Travis Etienne said earlier in the week, you got to add a little bit more to your arsenal. You can't just be a three-down back. We're going to run it up the gut, power-o, and do this, that, and the third. No, you got to be able to line up in the slot like we see Travis Etienne do. We saw him do it in college, do it in the pros. He's getting 125 yards. I have 50 yards receiving too. So you kind of have to be able to line up in the slot and be able to beat linebackers off the line of scrimmage and being able to run between the tackles as well. So the running back market is kind of like set in stone. So I get he wants to get traded, but where will he even go? I don't know.
That's a great question. And just, Gary, before I get your response, I did want to follow up on the exact quote that Colts owner Jim Irsay said. So first of all, in a text response to Albert Breer of SportsIllustrated.com, Irsay said, "We're not trading Jonathan, ... end of discussion. Not now and not in October." And then he offered, as this article from Pro Football Talk says, Irsay also offered a more philosophical comment via James Boyd of TheAthletic.com when he said, get ready for this, "If I die tonight and Jonathan Taylor is out of the league, no one's going to miss us," Irsay said. "The league goes on. We know that. The National Football League rolls on. It doesn't matter who comes and who goes, and it's a privilege to be a part of it." Like, literally, probably accurate, but why the fuck would you say that shit? What do you think, Gary?
You know what? I don't like to knock people for being honest with what they thinking. To be honest, it should be as Shaun should. You should love as quote media people.
Oh, I love the quote. That is a fucking amazing quote.
Exactly. Whatever you ask for, I've seen that man Irsay on Pat McAfee show again. Shout out to a show again. That that he's always on there. So he's not always on there, but he's been on there a few times, and it's always so funny to hear him. So I get he's a straight up owner. So I wouldn't. A lot of people do like playing for him and for the Colts. My bad. And a lot of people like playing for him. So I understand. Like, you just know that's his personality. That's what he's gonna do. That's what he's gonna say. So I don't see. I thought you said like if Jonathan Taylor dies, I was like, bro, why would you mention that? Why would you even say that, bro? That's what I thought you said at first. So I'm glad you cleared it up a little bit, even though it wasn't. I was still a harsh quote, and it still
wasn't much better.
It wasn't harsh. It was just dramatic, like I guess. But he, like you said, I mean, if
Taylor might
the
not
one thing I mentioned, no matter what in the NFL. In any league, to be honest, the NBA is going to keep going no matter what. When LeBron retires, you've seen Jordan retire, it's going to keep going. You know what I'm saying? Just like the NFL, obviously the NBA might be a little bit more because it is star-driven a little bit, so you lose a little bit when the stars do leave, but they always find their next one, so they're always good. But the NFL, for sure, you've seen Brady leave, you're going to see this year, first time. You're going to see PC Payton leave. You see so many players leave, and they're just going to keep going. They're going to find the next guy, promote the next person. There's going to be great talent in this league, so obviously they're not going to miss a beat. But going back to real quick to Jonathan Taylor, again, I don't know. I didn't see maybe his reasoning of why he wants to get let go. I seen today, like I mentioned earlier, him being trolling or funny or being honest that I'm not on injury. There ain't no back injury. I don't know what y'all talking about, so I don't know why there
were some reports out there about it.
Yeah, exactly. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go for I'm always a player first type person. And to be honest with you, as you guys know, so I'm going to say if he wants to leave, he wants to go somewhere makes him happy and feel like he's to be valued. And to be honest with you, I obviously wasn't there at the meeting, obviously. But I'm assuming the meeting maybe when it went like a little bit like this, I'm just assuming all pure guessing that maybe it's like, how we change this market, guys? How we start making money? Oh, well, maybe we should start asking earlier. Maybe we should start, since they won't pay us later on, we're going to make them pay us earlier. So maybe they're pulling that approach because, the whole thing is like, oh, the running backs, after we use him for a couple of years, we don't know what they have left on the back end. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why we're not going to pay them.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they're taking the approach, all right, then you're going to pay me after one good year of me doing great, pay for what you're going to get in the future, and then we can have a discussion. So I do understand. If I'm a running back right now, I am not mad at them at all. They can, if I'm a Colts fan, I wouldn't be mad at him. To be honest with you, I know he's a great running back. You want to keep him there, and he's makes your team good. So maybe you hate him now because he's requesting a trade. Oh well. I'm the same for the running back market. They're obviously all coming together as they should to give themselves more value because they help teams win at the end of the day. And everyone knows you need a running game of some sort to win in this league. All right, we talked about it with Mike, with Vaughn's cousin who came a few weeks ago from the Atlanta Falcons, talking about everyone needs a run game. If you don't run the ball, you can't throw the ball all game. It's not going to work out for you well. We've seen that happen many times, and the only person that does it, like Mike said that day, only person that does it and makes it all good, handy dandy, is literally the greatest quarterback right now and has the potential to be the greatest quarterback ever. Simple. And he's on tier 0 by himself. So that's the only guy. If you don't have that guy on your field as your QB, as your number one guy, then you should be looking at always giving your guy some help, and especially with a great running back. So I feel like Jonathan Taylor, whatever needs to be done to get him paid, to get him happy, I feel they should do that for him. And obviously, you ain't gonna, Irsay's gonna do. He gonna do. That's one thing they don't request. They don't really like. If you're not a quarterback, even if you're a quarterback, I feel like NFL is like, oh, we're not doing the NBA thing over here. We is not doing request trades left and right here. We are not doing that. So that's why I feel like Irsay's like. I really feel like that's one of the big things. Like we're staying like. That's probably one thing they probably see from a distance from the NBA. Like we never seen the owners just step on. Like, no, we're not trading. The only person that really kind of was doing that last few years, really, who stepped on and said, "I'm not trading till I want to," was Daryl Morey of the Rockets. Or no, when he's on the Sixers, actually not letting Ben Simmons go when he wanted to go. So I feel like him standing on his 2 feet, basically saying, telling the GM basically, you ain't trading him nowhere. He ain't going nowhere. He's going to play for the Colts some way with another. And if he don't want to play, then I guess I'm pretty sure he won't get paid. I think that's how it goes, I'm assuming, unless he starts saying, I got a back injury. So that's the only thing that actually – I was thinking, I was like, if you want to request a trade, bro, shouldn't you say that you know what I'm saying? Your back injury so you don't play. But maybe he's like, no, if I put back injury, then no one's going to want to trade for me. So I can see where he's going from. I can see the different aspects. But at the end of the day, I just hope Jonathan Taylor does what makes him happy and gets him paid and does what's best interest of him. And obviously the Colts are going to do what's the best interest of them. And so I'm a Colts fan. I want to keep him because like Vaughn said, down year last year, but I expect him to come back because I think that was due to injury and I feel he's going to do good. And again, you mentioned you have a new rookie quarterback. You need some help. So you want to keep this guy. So I don't blame Irsay for saying I'm keeping you. So hopefully, realistically, they could just come to the table, meet up, pay the guy what he deserves and what he wants, things of that nature, meet in the middle because his talents is much needed on this team big time. So they're going to want to keep him happy. That's key word, happy. So keep him happy. So I think that's what they try to do. Let's see what happens.
Exactly. And Gary, I think that your guesstimation was probably pretty accurate in regard to how the meeting went, where Jonathan Taylor, he's a smart guy, it seems, and he basically just said, either pay me or trade me. Pay me or trade me. And point blank period. And it sounds like he didn't. That Jim Irsay said, no, you're under contract, so we're not going to pay you right away. And so Jonathan Taylor said, you know what, trade me. And before we go real quick, we got our first comment from Uncle Manny on this week's episode as he says back injury with a laughing emoji. And Kevin Dent Jr. confirms that his other son is a Raiders fan. So that's got to be a very interesting dynamic in the Dent household. And so we look forward to hearing more from our KD, Kevin III, on more on why he's an Eagles fan, all that good stuff. But we appreciate Kevin's dad and everyone else for tuning in to another episode of Stats Over Politics. Guys, we're 42 episodes in. Time is flying by. We're creeping up on 50, and it's been a blast so far, and we're going to keep on going. Everyone, make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us really grow, and if you enjoyed the show, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live, just in case we have a bonus episode, as we did a couple weeks ago with our guy Kenny Caraway from ESPN 1320. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on Twitter at Stats For Politics. See all the great content that our guy Kevin is putting out there. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you have been tuned in to episode number 42 of Stats Over Politics. For my guy Kevin Dent, who's handling daddy duties with his animals, and my guys, Garry Singh, Jaevon Toddy, I am your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in to Stats Over Politics, and we'll catch you again next Monday here on Stats Over Politics.
Peace.